right-click damage, doesn't do any damage at all with telekinesis. So TNC, I think it's the right decision for 1437 to mostly be pulling and try and secure his levels. That's really what you want to do as a Rubik. You can't really do a lot before you get your level 6 and your Arcane Boots up. And this is a pretty good Rubik game, all things considered. I think Lina is great to steal from. Sven, also not too shabby, and pretty good against the Clockwork in terms of lifting him out of his cogs. So 1437 should be able to have a decent game, though maybe not the big ultimates that he would have been hoping for this game, or that you would be hoping for as a Rubik player.
Yeah, I mean, when I've seen AA played so far in this tournament, just from the games that I've seen, just kind of felt like the ults weren't really doing enough. The cold feet were great. It could go and it could stop the pace of the fight. It could isolate a core who was, running in from the sides. But it seems like people have figured out how to just get out of those ult paths, how to read the AA player and kind of decide where they're going to be ulting and just not be there. So a lot of pressure on 1437. Now lift onto Skylark, bringing him up onto the cliff. There are a bunch of heroes going for that surround. 1437 gets too low. They got to back off. And I mean, Skylark almost fresh out of mana, but will make his way out safely.
Interesting from Skylark, he's actually opted not to skill his second skill point just yet. I guess maybe trying to decide whether or not he needs to press the attack. It is important to hold on to, because if he gets lifted back into a clap from Ursa, he's actually going to need that to be able to escape. So I was wondering why he didn't try and turn around with that creep wave hitting him and get some moment of courage procs, but I think that's really why he holds onto the skill point there, just so that he can make 100% sure that if the Ursa rotated over, he had to press the attack with the Mango to be able to get himself out of harm's way.
Yeah, taking a look back at the CS chart, this Queen of Pain is just styling on the Lina. 22 last hits and 15 denies. I mean, of course, the Queen of Pain has had help from the Riki coming in, but, I mean, Thug is starting to fall behind, starting to get a little poor, and with this positioning, it looks like they're going to jump on her right now. They get the silence off. Now, the Clockwork is there, but is it going to be in time? Thug gets up the Fairy Fire, but the dagger should be doing enough tick damage. Thug does get denied by maybe next time. Double damage scouted out in the river by the Riki, so Cuckoo may just go pick that up and continue some really safe farm on this Quap.
Yeah, not an ideal start at all for the Lina, but she is a hero that can catch up decently. The problem is going to be for Mouse Sports if none of their lanes necessarily go well, because then all three of their cores desperately want the jungle farm to be able to catch back up into the game. So the fact that this Sven is doing decently is good news for Mouse, though. I mean, he's really not going to be moving around too early to start tipping the favor on these lanes. The Clockwork has at least found himself some nice levels after the
there we go,
down.
Dive in. It's up to maybe next time to go and block. The Cog comes in. Tims is able to get some lifts, but yeah, there's the drag back from the Rubik and another kill. That's going to be our first blood. And Lina, well, she's really having a tough time, really behind on farm. Is it because the Clockwork just isn't paying enough attention, or is this just a Queen of Pain who's off to a really, really strong
It's just
start?
that the Clockwork can't really stop the Queen of Pain from doing what she wants to do in this lane. Doesn't really have any kill threat so long as the blink is still up. So, I think maybe next time is doing the best that he possibly can, but unfortunately he just doesn't really have the resources to deal with the Riki. He's got this dust, but they haven't even been able to find the kill opportunity, and they haven't had a sentry ward in this lane for a little bit.
There's just no sentry straight down in the mid lane. Radiant, they did have one a little bit off to the side, but I mean, you'd think with the Riki just being that ever present in the mid lane, that's something you really got to take care of ASAP.
Yeah, the problem is that Tims is even prepared for one more sentry ward. He actually has another one in his inventory right now, so he's ready to get rid of that very quickly if it does get planted down. So.
Up in this top lane, SamH having a pretty tough time. Picks himself up 1 CS. His levels are, I mean,
decent.
Yeah, pretty solid. I mean, he's gotten some nice solo XP, but the Sven, we've seen time and time again in this tournament and others, you leave the Sven to his own devices and don't put pressure, don't focus him down in the first 10 minutes. He starts coming at you with a blink and Mask of Madness at like 15 minutes, and you're just done. Now, Skylark potentially in trouble down bottom, but I mean, he's speedy. He's just going to scoot himself out. The Riki is there, trying to see if they can catch him out, but looks like Skylark will just get a free trip back to jungle. So far, I mean, Sven on the net worth chart already dominating, really taking strides ahead of the Ursa. And Ursa's kind of a snowball hero. He wants to start spiraling in kills. He wants to get ahead in lane and be able to move to that Roche pit relatively early. Is this enough of a good start for Raven, or is he going to have to let himself be a little bit behind for now?
I think this is fine. I think the Ursa's been under a little bit more pressure than the Sven in terms of the laning stage, so the net worth discrepancy isn't that huge. I think the Sven might have even been getting involved a little bit with these stacks off to the side, though there is still a decent sized stack for him to clear now that he's picked up his Mask of Madness. So I don't think it's too much of a concern for the Ursa. He mostly snowballs off being able to secure that Roshan, so it really comes down to whether or not the other heroes on his team are strong enough to defend him or go and make some space while he tries to sneak that Rosh. But, alright. The other nice thing about the Ursa this game is that the Ursa can play very aggressively and keep the lane pushed out. He's actually picked up a Bassi early on, and he's leaving it turned on so that he can constantly shove the wave into the tower, and that makes the Rubik's positioning
Here we
really
go,
mysterious.
scrap around the Roche pit. The Impale does clip on 2 heroes, beautiful by Sam H, but that's going to be the end of the fight as everyone's just a little too under-leveled. Maybe next time is able to finish off Tim's with a well-placed Rocket Flare. So good work by the Clockwork, starting to get those kills rolling in for him. I mean, he's been really mobile, trying to go help mid as much as possible, but also making sure this Sven has the easiest time possible.
Yeah, I think it's a hero that suits Mouz very well. It was one of their most banned and most picked heroes coming into this event. I believe it might actually be the first time that they've picked it in this tournament, but you know, we've seen plenty of heroes
back
like
in towards
that.
mid lane. The Lina in a lot of trouble. Silenced up once again. The lift comes before she can finish casting the Light Strike Array. She will be finished off by the Rubik. So 14:37, snapping up some good gold. The Courier waiting here, just trying to run before the Ricky can get his claws on it. Tim's trying to cut himself out of the cogs. The smoke might buy him some time, but looks like the battery assault will be enough to do the job. So Ricky hitting the deck. 1-for-1 trade now up in the top lane. Sam H just going to jog off some cold feet, but this AA is in a lot of trouble. One more Impale, and that boy is donezo.
Yeah, the Sven has moved into the jungle. He's cleaning up a nice little ancient stack at the moment, but
Invis
there is an
co-op with an
Invis
ult.
Queen of Pain.
This is huge. They catch her in the cogs, perhaps accidentally. Now, oh no, they see her. They got the dust. She's barely in range of that sentry, but just enough to get vision of what she was doing, crawling up the cliff. And yeah, that's going to be not only a co-op kill, but also Sven can sit back and finish off this ancient stack. So really good swing right there for Mouseports.
Oh, that sentry ward was so sick. That could have been amazing for TNC. Not only could Cuckoo have gotten the Sven kill, but he also could have stolen the majority of that stack by just throwing the Sonic Wave through at the right time. So that is an absolutely, well, potentially game-winning sentry ward play there. And I mean, not completely unexpected, given that TNC do already have 2 Invis heroes on the Nyx Assassin.
But they were not expecting to catch out a Quap.
Yeah, they were not expecting to find the Quap like that, and Cuckoo unfortunately just didn't have the blink-off cooldown to be able to get out.
Now this Sven, I mean, he's already becoming a pretty big problem. 75 last hits on him already, and he's now got the full Mask of Madness, which he had at, I believe, 6.5 minutes. He's now finished off the power treads, and looks like he is going to be queuing up the S and Y before he goes in for the blink. Meanwhile, Tim's exact some revenge does pick off maybe next time, but I mean, he's right back at it. 10 seconds in, he'll TP back forward, and they look like they want to find a kill. Madara cutting himself through the trees, and it looks like they're not prepared to let this lane go, but there's a surround. TNC, they're looking to fight here. I mean, that's a huge staple of the TNC lineup, is going for those unexpected fights. The smoke now expires, so Cuckoo is seen. The Dire Heroes waiting in the wings, but there they go. The Stormhammer onto the Nyx before he can get off the Impale. The Carapace going to buy them some time, but the Cold Feet comes through. Sven stuns himself on the Carapace. The Quap lets go of the ultimate. It does kill off the AA, but they're able to turn it around and take the Nyx in return. And now Skylark moves forward, goes for the duel onto the Quap. Needs backup, though. Can they get their teammates there in time? The Light Strike Array holds them down, and the Dragon Slave finishes them off. So that's going to be Lina getting exactly what she needs to out of that TP into the top lane. Quap dead. I mean, she's having a pretty tough time. We talked about her having a really good laning phase with lots of CS, and with the Ricky there able to force out the Lina, but I mean, she's died twice now, and she's been trying to rotate, trying to go for those big kills. Is it better for her just to sit in the mid and continue trying to mount that net worth lead that way?
No, I think that was a very nice rotation from Thug. That was a kill that he desperately needed to help close the gap between him and the Queen of Pain. And it was also such a nice defense for Mousesports. They know that they have to hold on to this top tier 1 as long as they can to continue their access to their jungle, especially given that the mid tier 1 was lost as early as it was. If they lose those 2 tier 1s, then they lose control over a significant portion of their jungle, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for the Lina to catch back up. So I think that was a very, very, very nice rotation from Mouz, but also the right idea from TNC.
Here we go. There is going to be a stun this time. It is successful. Queen of Pain not trying any sneaky invis business, and instead sends in the Nyx to do her dirty work, and they will be able to kill up the Sven as he's taking this ancient stack. So Nyx picks up the last Mud Golem, and well, that's going to be kill score evening out here. In terms of overall net worth, I mean, we are dead even right now. I'm curious about this Ursa, though. He's now rotated to top lane. Raven just getting a little bit of solo farm to himself. His net worth is all right, but he's got his Vlads. When are we going to see that Roche rotation?
I mean, it mostly depends on whether or not there's just a good opportunity somewhere on the map. If Mouz choose to send too many heroes down to bottom, maybe we see him sneak over and try and go for it then. There's an Ice Blast sailing all the way over towards the mid lane at the moment, but actually going to get jumped on here.
Yep, goes for the cold feet. There's going to be more than enough damage to take out the AA, but the duel comes in. Legion Commander's there. The lift from the Rubik delays the inevitable, but they will still get the kill. Both bodies drop, and they will get the AA as well, so very good trade there for TNC. Took him a lot of resources, though. Meanwhile, the Ursa still continuing his push up in the top lane, and it looks like he'll be able to find that tower for himself.
Yeah, the Vlad's really helping a lot in pushing this tower down. He manages to snag the last hit, so now he's got 1k gold towards his Blink Dagger. Probably going to back up and go and farm a little bit more, and while his team pushes bottom.
Yep, there's an initiation in. Nice quick kills coming forward, but the Lina going down might be some trouble maybe next time, trying to run for the hills as that double damage Quap is keen to chase him down, gets clipped by the cogs again, and that's the rest of his mana. Legion Commander goes forward with that overwhelming odds just to drive everyone back. Quap now picks up the power treads, so going to be feeling a little more statsy.
I'm not quite sure what Mouse Sports were doing down there on bottom. Looks like they might have been trying to go for some kind of a kill, but I mean, they'd just seen a bunch of TNC heroes in the area, and that's actually going to be the signal for Raven to try and head into the Roshan pit, but
really
like we talked
read.
about it, there's so much scouting for him this game. It's actually very difficult to sneak in and get the Rosh.
I mean, you got to figure when Rosh is off, or when Ursa's off the map, and it's about this time in the game, you know he's got his Vlads completed. He's going to be crawling around the Rosh pit.
Yeah, it's a little bit troublesome for Mouz that their hookshot is still on cooldown for another 20 seconds or so, but it looks like they have been able to just keep him out of the pit with Rocket Flare and whatnot, so Raven does have to back himself up. He's also pretty low on mana, so probably needs to go and pop this shrine and just repair that situation a little bit. But I feel like Mouz, don't need to be in such a rush necessarily this game. This Sven is farming very well, and I feel like this is actually turning out to be a pretty good Sven
Skylark
game.
in some trouble. This is the new Veil from the Queen of Pain debut as well. Going to try to heal herself and walk back under tower. The rest of the Mousesports team is there, so if Sam H overcommits, they could try to turn this. Maybe next time has that clock or hook shot ready. We'll see if they're going to try to jump, but I think they're playing safe for now. We were talking just a couple of minutes ago about how the Quap really needs to get in here and start finding those kills, and very good performance from Cuckoo in the last couple of minutes, raking in 3 more kills for himself and just continuing that net worth advantage. So going to be soon to match up with the Ursa. Sven still top of the chart as, whoa, we might see another one for the Sven. Gets that Stormhammer, and Tim's pops off a really nice smoke cloud, but it won't save him this time.
Yeah, so I think this is a little bit more like it for Mouse Sports. Just put some sentries at crucial points of the map, kind of play on your side, continue farming, utilize the Ancients well, and then just, jump TNC whenever they try and cross onto your side of the river. I think that's a much more reasonable pace of game for them to play, but it's not really their style as a team.
Trying to bodyguard the Roche pit. Does get picked off. It cost them the Laguna Blade and the hook shot. So, I mean, Ursa just gets a chance to walk out of the pit. While down bottom, they find another kill on this Legion. I mean, it seems like Skylark has overstayed his welcome in the bottom lane. Now 2 deaths for him, pretty much right in a row after going for that duel onto the Ricky. And Cuckoo has kind of made this land his own. This Queen of Pain's rotated down. Already has 1,000 gold, picks up that Mystic Staff, or rather the Staff of Wizardry. So, I mean, things are getting feisty. This Queen of Pain's coming online maybe quicker than Mouseports expected.
Yeah, the Yule's certainly going to be pretty helpful for kiting the Sven around as well and saving people from the duel. The Legion Commander does have her Blink Dagger up now, so looks like Skylark going to be going for some kind of immediate rotation. He's got a smoke in his backpack as well, but I still feel as though, like I said, Mouz don't necessarily need to be in too much of a rush. They are giving away a couple of kills here and there, and because they haven't taken a single tier 1 tower, just because of the nature of their lineup, they don't exactly push all that well. They are starting to feel maybe a little bit restricted on the map, and they've actually invested a ton of observer wards to try and maintain some vision. But the thing when you put this many wards down at the same time is that in the next couple of minutes, in that next ward window, the map's going to get really dark because you're only going to have a couple of wards to work with. But they are going to go for this smoke. Sven, the Legion Commander, and the AA all making their way over towards the mid. Maybe going to try and dangle the Lina as bait a little bit. We'll have to see.
Oh, meanwhile down here, the AA Ice Blast goes forward. The Ricky is able to sneak himself back out of there, and now we're going to have a fight near the shrine. The hook shot goes forward. There is a quick duel as Skylark picks up a nice kill onto, who was it? Tim's is dead.
Yeah, Tim's being brought down, and this is more like it. Mousesports just kind of playing their side of the map, taking the pickoffs as they come. Thug is farming back up, so his game is starting to look better and better. as time goes on. He's already got 2.4k gold banked. Doesn't have anything on the quick buy at the moment, so.
Oh, this is a very TNC play. One of their heroes is down. Mouz think they have a window of opportunity, but there's just a smoke up and kill. TNC are so comfortable fighting when they have heroes down. Ice Blast comes forward, does clip onto the Quap, but that's not going to stop her. It's Radiant just going ham on the dire side of the map. One of the only survivors is Skylark in the Legion, but able to blink himself to freedom. Meanwhile, Sven did take another Ancient snack, so he's keeping his farm good, but I mean, that was just a quintessential TNC play. Mouz get a kill. They think they're safe for the next couple of seconds while TNC regroup, but that's when TNC wants to go. They want to catch Mouz with their pants down.
Yeah, it's like, oh, can they fight without the... Oh, we got another duel coming in.
This one doesn't seem so good for the next assassin. That's going to be a quick kill, and that's going to be a second duel victory. I mean, back-to-back duels, 30 damage now on Skylark, so making up for those 2 deaths in the bottom lane.
And Raven has still not been able to go and take this Rosh. I think this is the 4th or 5th time we've seen him run over into the pit, do about a third of Roshan's HP, and then just be forced to back up because of the spam coming in from Mouse Sports. They've been thinking about the fact that, you know, that's definitely Ursa's game plan, and they have been countering it pretty nicely. I mean, it's still a relatively even game. I mean, only about a 1,500 net worth lead in TNC's favor right now, and almost dead even on the experience.
Did they take away the net worth indicator?
It doesn't show if it's a less than 2k net worth difference.
Oh, that's neat.
Is my understanding. I don't know if they tweaked it after they changed it from a percentage to being the greater than, but it will show up eventually, I think, if one team starts winning the game hard enough.
All right, so Ricky's scouting around following the Sven, but I like this choice from Mouse Ports. They're kind of baiting Ricky into walking into the sentry vision, similar with the Nyx Assassin. So all their sentries are in really defensive places rather than going and trying to, you know, keep their lane safe, plopping them in the river to scout rotations. They're really just forcing TNC to walk into them. And that's kind of how Mouse Ports like to fight. They're looking for those counter initiations more than they want to just be jumping wildly into fights against TNC.
Yeah, this is kind of the nice thing about being on the dire side if you're Mouse Sports here, is that the 2 sections of the map that you still want to maintain control over and you still want to be able to farm, both have high grounds leading up to them. And by controlling the area around both of your shrines, you maintain control over both sets of Ancients, which isn't necessarily the case for the Radiant side of the map because their set of Ancients over towards the mid lane
Here we
is
go.
kind
There's
of
going to be a
exposed.
big Roche fight coming out. As this time TNC have rotated more resources forward. Ursa finally finishes off the Roche, snaps himself up in Aegis, but the fight's just beginning as now, oh, they go in. The Legion Commander was ready to go for the duel, but looks like might be outnumbered as Raven blinks forward. Queen of Pain going to be going for the cutoff, and it looks like Skylark will lose his life. Meanwhile, in the cogs, 1437 able to snap up a kill on maybe next time, so Mouse Ports, I mean, they knew that fight was going on. They scouted it with the rocket flare, but it seems like they just couldn't get their act together quick enough to go bust through that line of supports that TNC put outside of the pit.
Amazing positioning from Tim's. He saw the clockwork waiting up on the high ground, saw the line from the clockwork to the Ursa, and just stood right in front of it. There was a fast reaction from maybe next time to pop the dust immediately, but just wasn't able to kill the Ricky because of the tricks of the trade, and absolutely secured the Aegis for the the Aegis for the Ursa. So Raven now finally has that in his inventory. He's been trying to grab this the entire time. He is going to be going for the Basher here. I'm a little bit surprised not to see the Diffusal Blade, just because of how good it is against the Warcry on Sven, but fulfills a pretty similar role in terms of just controlling him and giving you the opportunity to man fight against the Legion Commander and the Sven.
Yep. Again, just to recap, we've now got a bunch of blinks online, so everyone's going to get a little bit more mobile on the side of Mouse. We've got one on the Sven, got one on the Legion, and then on TNC, we've already got one on the Ursa, so fights are going to be spread out a little bit. The Queen of Pain's got her own built-in blink as well, so like we saw in that Roche fight, there were kind of 2 fights, one on top of the pit, one right out in front of the pit. I mean, who does that benefit when these fights kind of split off into 1v1 scraps?
I think it works pretty nicely for TNC. Their heroes skirmish pretty nicely. Mouse Sports do need a slightly more structured fight just because they need the Sven to be able to get some vision and then jump on a good target, and that means having some heroes in the front and then still giving the Sven some sort of path forward into the fight to be able to jump. But I mean, we talked at the start of this game about the poor Ancient Apparition, you know, not really getting a whole lot of net worth, and you look at Spartan's inventory, he's got a grand total of 700 net worth, and he's got brown boots.
Here we
and
go,
looks
jump
good
forward.
to
They're going to punish the Lina, the easiest to kill of all the targets. Overwhelming odds comes in, but Raven, he's ulted. He's still up and fighting. Madara on the backline just going in under this tier 1 tower, now surrounded by 4. The Ursa moves in to make it 5. I don't think Madara's getting out of this one alive. He's big, he's mean, but he's in a smoke cloud. Ult comes forward as there's going to be a straight duel. They're trying to lock down this Queen of Pain, but it's not working out. The Legion goes down, feeding a duel. They will be able to TP out everyone else from Mouse Ports. Hold that thought, no, as the Maybe next time gets killed by the Ursa. That was a bloody, bloody fight. I mean, Mouseports, they went all in to try to go take that tower, and they got punished by TNC waiting in the wings. Now Raven, with just a scratch of health, finishes off the AA. He's still up. Thug wants to find something, but the Dragon Slay was off the mark. Light Strike Array will not save his life, only stuns 2, but the Nyx still able to get the lockdown. That's 4 heroes dead. Mouseports, it seems like they just didn't take their exit out of that fight.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that Mousesports chose to take a fight there over on TNC's side of the map. They've got the Aegis secured. They had the vast majority of their cooldowns ready to go. It feels like Mouz, maybe they felt as though they had to make a play, maybe some kind of item timing collected. I think maybe the Sven grabbing his Blink Dagger, but Madara getting controlled very nicely in that fight by TNC, and the rest of the heroes just absolutely falling to pieces once Sven was controlled.
Yeah, I mean, the net worth graph is just starting to spike up a little bit, almost at 7,500 now for TNC. The Ursa, you know, I was concerned about him. I thought, you know, sometimes Ursas fizzle if they just sit in lane and farm, and he had a really tough time actually getting into that Roche and getting that first Aegis. But with this team behind him, I mean, TNC, they are good to fight as a group. We can see all 5 of them now teaming up in the mid lane, ready to charge in. They've got the Ricky and the Nyx, the Invis boys leading the way. And they see the AA now. But they're probably a little bit cautious that there's a whole field of heroes behind him.
Yeah, the most impressive thing for me about Raven in this game is actually his patience. He's playing a hero that's known for rushing in, making aggressive plays, doesn't really farm all that well, but he played a very efficient game at the start. You know, didn't try and rush the Blink Dagger and get involved, went for the Vlads, knew that he needed it to be able to go for the Roshan, and then trusted his team to be able to secure the early game to the point where he could farm his first 2 items, secure the Roche, and then come in to really take these huge team fights and start to take over the game.
Skylark is able to juke away through the trees there, but yeah, I mean, really good point. This Queen of Pain did a lot of heavy lifting early on while the Ursa wasn't able to participate, and she did a great job. Now, Madara going in, spends the God Strength here, and will be able to kill off that Rubik. I mean, a low-value pick as far as TNC heroes go, but Madara needs those kills to be able to keep his net worth up. He's still top of the chart, but yeah, his teammates aren't able to go and pick up the slack. This Legion Commander might be going down again. She's healing off, trying to escape, but yeah, no, she's just super done as the Ursa makes his way in as well.
Did Sam H ask for that kill? It kind of looked like it. Cuckoo had the scream and the veil the entire time, and I think Sam H is like, hey, this is mine. Can I get my Force Staff a little bit faster, please? And Cuckoo backed off and let him have it, so... You know, we've talked about the team play so far from TNC, and I feel like that's just one more example of what they've been doing so well so far this game. And the other thing to remember for this game is that the Queen of Pain was picked very early for TNC. They had a lot of confidence in Cuckoo's ability to play the hero, really wanting him to be comfortable. You know, they made sure that he won the mid lane courtesy of that last pick Ricky for Tim's, and it's worked fantastically so far.
And that's such a TNC thing, is just kind of go all in, securing one lane, especially for Cuckoo. And if he can actually get it done, if he can pull ahead early on, he has no trouble with the rest of the game. So it's looking good right now for TNC. I mean, just looking at the mid-levels, Thug, level 14 on the Lina compared to the 18 of the Queen of Pain. I mean, this Lina just feels a little bit fizzled out. The Nyx Assassin's doing a great job making sure she's impaled, making sure she's stunned, and can't get off those defensive Light Strike arrays. Now, Sven moving forward, trying to defend Skylark. This poor Legion just can't find farm. Picked up the Blink Dagger, picked up a couple of duels, but hasn't been able to progress much since then. Going for the Blade Mail, but is that going to change things, Baseskip?
I don't really think so. It's not all that amazing at necessarily killing off the Ursa, and I think that's also part of why Raven goes for the Skull Basher this game as opposed to going for the Diffusal Blade, just because in case he does get dueled, the Basher gives him a little bit more of an opportunity to get some chain stun and maybe win the duel against the Legion. And it's similar to how Troll Warlord kind of plays against Legion Commander. It's actually very difficult for Legion to duel that hero and win reliably, but I don't think the Legion Blade Mail is really going to turn things around. They're getting to the point where the Legion Commander, I don't think, is really going to be able to solo kill anyone. And I think we're also seeing why the Legion Commander has not had an extremely good win rate at this tournament, because as much as you can win the lane and put on a lot of pressure, come mid-game, it's not the same as having a true AoE stun like even the Nyx Assassin, who's generally considered a pretty single-target hero, but Impale is just so much more reliable and such a lower cooldown than having to use Duel and put your life on the line for initiation.
Maybe next time in a ton of trouble here. Left solo to defend this tower, gets clipped by the Carapace, and they're just going to Impale him, lock him down, and feed him straight to the Ursa. That's another kill for Raven. As down bottom, Tim's just keeping eyes on what's going on here, as Mouseports, they can't find a window to to jump him. They're just going to go try to defend. The tier 2 looks pretty long gone. Spartan's just going to go ahead and try to TP out of this, but yeah, that's going to be a dead AA. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, there is going to be another duel. It looks like it could be successful. They will find the kill onto Sam H, and the Laguna Blade, they're going to be able to find a second. That is a huge kill. Almost 730 gold going straight to the Sven. Really accelerating him. He's still going to be top of that net worth chart. But the problem is there's just such a big disparity between him and the Lina, the Legion Commander, I mean, middle of the pack, and this Clockwork that we had such high hopes for, roaming, getting those early kills. I mean, he's just really feeling like a support, feeling like that position 5.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Cuckoo actually had a spell thrown at him there, but that was actually his Yules that set up for the Light Strike array from Thug, so kind of putting himself in a somewhat precarious situation in that fight. But yeah, the Clockwork I feel like hasn't necessarily accomplished everything that Mouz we're hoping it was going to this game. And I think the other thing to point out is that I don't really like position 4 Clockwork that much with the Legion Commander off lane. They're both pretty similar heroes in their style of initiation. It's very single target oriented, and they're also really looking for pickoffs. They're not great at initiating into 5-on-5 team fights, and I think that's the problem that we're starting to see. Now that TNC have established a little bit of a net worth lead, and they're able to play a little bit more together, both the Legion Commander and the Clockwork are kind of being countered by the same playstyle from TNC, which is proving to be a little bit problematic. But Mouz are kind of closing the net worth gap here and there, as they do continue to find these pickoffs by playing on their side of the map for the most part.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next big 5-on-5 fight. Roshan is going to be making an appearance relatively soon. It's actually a very long respawn timer, but a minute left on that guy, and I mean, definitely not going to be on the forefront of TNC's mind to keep the Ursa in a position where he can have the Aegis and can jump deep into these fights and not really have to worry about his life. Smoke comes in.
They got a DD on Sven.
They definitely need to take this fight. They need to kill TNC if they want a chance at taking this next Roche and denying that Ursa the ability to scale. Now Smoke pops. They know Tim's is nearby, but without vision, they just can't find him. Tim's leads them on a wild goose chase. The dust is dodged, and now Mouseports, they just have to retreat. They've given away their positioning. TNC know how this is, how to react to it. Bottom lane's pushing in really nicely. 2 heroes there, just clearing out creeps, can be pressuring the tier 2. Looks like Ricky is going to be jumping back. The courier is vulnerable here, but Madara's got bigger things in his mind. The duel comes in, and that will be a big kill onto Cuckoo. Again, almost 500 gold going towards Madara. So Sven is picking up a ton. Sven is turning into a beast, but the rest of his team, it just isn't quite scaling there. He's got so much weight on his shoulders. Is that a winning strat for Mouseports? Just feed everything to the Sven, or do they need to kind of share the wealth?
No, I think the game only gets harder for Sven as it goes on. More force stabs start to get picked up.
Going into the cogs, Laguna Blade finishes off Tim, so that pesky Ricky not going to be giving away positioning. Now Roche is up. Is this going to be Mouseports trying to steal it? Because TNC know what's up. They know how to do this, but with the Queen of Pain and the Ricky dead for 40 more seconds, there's a big window, and it looks like Mouseports are taking that. They're war cried up. They're chunking this thing down, and TNC, they decided not to go and try to defend.
Yeah, the back-to-back deaths from Cuckoo have been absolutely brutal. He opted to go for the Shiva's Guard instead of picking up a Lincoln Sphere. I'm not sure if the Lincolns would have been would help him all that much more in this situation. I think he's really hoping to maybe survive through the duel, but with the Sven damage to follow it up, the Shiva's armor is not nearly enough. So yeah, back-to-back deaths really swinging this game pretty heavily, and not being able to get that Aegis and Cheese over on their side is really going to hurt their chances of being able to push. And you said, they need to distribute the wealth a little bit more and start picking up some more farm on Thug and on Skylark, but now they've got an amazing opportunity to do it with this 5-minute Aegis window.
What do you think of the Sven's itemization? I mean, he's really kind of completed that kit. He's got the Mask of Madness into the Blink, into the BKB. He's already picked up the Sanjin Yasha, and he's so rich that he's going in for a Bloodthorn. Is that going to be enough to shut up the Ursa, shut up the Queen of Pain?
Yeah, the Bloodthorn is really, really nice this game. The Ursa does have a BKB to be able to get out of the silence, but it is extremely troublesome for him that he's going to have to pop that BKB every single time he gets Bloodthorned.
AA goes in to place a ward, and that will be the last ward he places. It's immediately countered as Ricky had that sentry in the inventory, so my god, this poverty AA is sitting on 1,600 total net worth. He's got the brown boots rocking, but he is dreaming of a 4-staff the Aghanim Scepter not even a thought on his mind right
He
now.
hasn't even put anything in his quick buy. He's just like, yep, you know, this is my lot in life this game. I'm buying Sentry Wards. I'm throwing AALTs. That's about the extent of it here.
I mean, his levels are, you know, a little behind him and the Clockwork bringing up the rear, 12 and 13 respectively. You know, where is that support? Ricky already level 16. Jump in deep here. Madara is able to go get off that BKB. Nice Sonic Wave. Tricks of the trade from the Ricky, going to be holding strong now, but the AA is going to be polished off. Duel comes in. The Queen of Pain looks like that's going to be her last duel. The duel victory won't come forward, but Raven is going to be huge. BKB'd up. They've got the ult rolling. AA pops an ult. Will connect onto the Ricky. Looks like he may shatter. He's just trying to scurry himself away. The overwhelming odds finishes him off. Madara, with his last breath, goes in, continues to fight, pops the Stormhammer, and blinks away. Madara lives. Not able to be finished off by any single last hit. He was so close to death, but overall, I mean, Mouseports, they lose their Lina really early on, and she's continuing to fall behind. The Clockwork still feeling kind of irrelevant, but being able to take that fight, Mouseports, I mean, they were jumped there. It looked like they had a chance to react, and they did it.
Yeah, I think sick play from Raven in that fight. You know, the Queen of Pain was getting dueled up. The Sven was moving over to try and finish her off, and Raven blinked in out of nowhere with Overpower active and just bashed the Sven into oblivion. He couldn't actually get those remaining auto attacks off. That he would have really needed to finish that kill, and that could have been really big in that fight. Like you said, unfortunately, they didn't quite manage to kill Madara. Wouldn't have been a huge deal if he died anyway, since he is still sitting on this Aegis. But yeah, Mousesport's still really needing to get this Lina a little bit more online. I think the Shadow Blade is actually going to help a lot for Thug, just in terms of being able to position in the back, kind of find the heroes that he really wants to focus on, and then still be able to get his spells off in the fight. The one other thing I want to mention so far is that Tim's has picked up his Diffusal Blade, which is going to be amazing against the Warcry. We've been talking the whole tournament long about the value of just being able to purge that off in these team fights, and he's so easily able to hunt the backlines. I feel like Tim's is getting to the point where he might even be able to 2v1 the two supports on Mousesports, which is getting very scary for them.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Mouseports, they have made a pretty deep smoke rotation. Nice little wards planted on that typical cliff. So Ricky's bringing up the back here, and we'll see if TNC are going to fight this or if Mouseports are just going to retreat. Because, I mean, this Tier 2's got to be on the forefront of their mind. It's time for Mouseports to start taking some structures. They've now got all Tier 2s open to them, and Madara's going in, pops that Warcry, and so far Tim's yet to react. Two of his teammates there. Meanwhile, up in the top, ooh, nice blink from the Queen of Pain. We'll be able to dodge that Ice Blast. Tier 2 taken down, and that's just going to be some clean gold going into Mouseports' pockets. Up in the top lane, there was a TP in defense, and Cuckoo not able to finish off that tower solo, just exerting some pressure and forcing back 3 TPs.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a weird TP order there. I think maybe Skylark coming in first would have given them the best opportunity to be able to get that kill. I don't know if they really would have been able to get it without another core's damage, but could have been a bit closer.
Thug showing off that new Shadow Blade, going forward, really wants to find a kill onto 1437. They scout him out with the rocket flare, scout out that no one's behind him. But that Ricky is just ever present on their minds. I mean, when are Mouseports thinking about picking up a gem? Is it just not something they can afford right now?
I think it's probably on their mind. They'd like to establish a little bit more vision before they grab it, I think, just so they have more of an idea of where to use it. TNC have amazing vision on the map, but unless you can see roughly where the supports are moving, which is obviously very, very difficult with the Ricky, it can be kind of hard to know where exactly the wards are going to end up. And you only really want to buy the gem once you feel like you're confident enough to 5-man, so maybe they look to line that up with the Bloodthorn timing from the Sven.
Tim's getting confident there, walks right through a Dire Sentry ward, but Lina just can't follow up, and then plants a Radiant Observer on the high ground, seeing who's going to be retreating back under the racks, seeing who's going to be TPing back into a fight if it does happen near that Tier 2. So very, very good vision there coming out from TNC.
Yeah, I think TNC are even planning ahead for the Roshan fight with that ward. If TNC managed to press forward into this area around the Roshan pit and they're controlling that as the Roshan respawns, it's actually a very likely play that Mousesports might look to go and smoke on the high ground inside of their base and then attack the Roshan from that angle. So if TNC can spot that smoke, they could actually take a high ground and be able to hold it and potentially win a team fight just because of that by having the better positioning.
Mouse now all grouped up. They are moving as 5, following Madara's lead, but I mean, TNC, they're just sticking to their own side of the map. Again, Roshan still 2 minutes till we find out if it's a long or short Roche respawn, but that's going to be a huge point of contest. Both teams now ready to go in, show off their 5-man. All cores are pretty much online and ready to get in there.
Yeah, a little bit of split pushing, people kind of playing the lane game right now as it looks like Roshan is going to be the next big kind of point of contention for these two teams. And Madara TPing up towards top without too much backup. His team is coming over in from the shrine right now, so I don't think TNC can really do that much about him.
Ricky, the ever-present mobile ward here, just going to be hopefully scouting that rotation, kind of surrounded by all five. So if he were to walk into any vision, he's in some trouble. There is that sentry near the bounty rune. We'll see if he makes his way down there. They're going forward. They know that something's up, and they're going to continue to press in.
They do have the gem on Skylark, in fact.
There we go. Skylark finally able to go. He's holding what he needs to hold. He's silenced up because of the smoke cloud. They're waiting for it to expire before they go for the duel. Nice patience there from Mouseports, just trying to score that Legion up some more damage, because there was no way that Ricky was getting out when his TP was cancelled.
Yeah, he was absolutely 100% dead, so nice little bit of coordination there from Mouz. Even going to put some ice vortexes up on the cliff just so that they can scout it out with the gem and make sure that there aren't any Tinker wards waiting up on the high ground. TNC, you talked about this play before. You know, they lose a hero, but they're still willing to go and make something happen.
Madara going to be lifted up into the air here. Does he have a chance to react? There is going to be a double man impale into the Sonic Wave. They're both popped like balloons as Mouseports lose to, again, TNC with that signature playstyle. And now Yule's up onto the Legion Commander. Can she get away here? No, bashed up. And that's another kill from Cuckoo.
And the jam.
That is so
they sent the courier. They wanted it. Can Sam H actually finish it? He forced that up onto the high ground.
Sam H, this might be a little bit too far. Thug goes in with the Laguna, trying to get down that Nyx assassin. Some tower shots are going to slap him in the butt. Now he does get silenced up, but the Stormhammer will not connect. He's able to get himself vendetted off in time, so that's going to be the end of the fight. But again, like you're talking about, the way that fight started was they lost the Ricky. And usually teams, when they lose that Ricky, when they lose that initiation tool, they won't fight. They'll back off, they'll wait for the Ricky to respawn, and Mouseports have a window to go farm and clear their jungle. But not TNC. If they lose that hero, they're going to go and try to catch Mouseports off guard, try to catch, a solo Sven farming mid without backup.
Yeah, that was so nice, because I think Mouseports are thinking the exact same way that you just said, that the Ricky is a big part of their team fight. He's doing a lot of scouting for them and really giving them access into the back lines with the Queen of Pain. If the Quap can see the Ancient Apparition and the Clockwork, or even the Lina, she can very easily jump into the back lines and kill them off, but without the Ricky vision, that can be a little bit difficult. But, oh man, losing that gem and the buyback being forced out of the Sven, this game was looking like Mouseports had a timing, but it seems like they're going to completely end up missing that, because this is where the game just continues to get more and more difficult for Sven. His BKB continues to get lower and lower. His inventory is pretty much completely full at this stage, and there's very few items that he can actually buy at this point that really let him get more auto attacks off in a fight. It's not about how much damage he does per hit. He's got plenty of that. It's more about not getting kited and not being controlled, and
situation. AA Blast comes forward, but hits nothing. So it's just going to be Skylark and MNT trying to run. Madara does catch one, but is it going to be enough there? The Yule's up onto the Quap, buys her some time, and now Raven comes in. He's angry, he's hungry, and he's going to find himself a nice snack. Some dual damage comes in. Skylark, man, I don't know if that was the play. Madara getting low, does hit a double man Stormhammer, but just annihilated by TNC. They go, they have a fantastic fight. Sven dead with no buyback, over 100 seconds. The rest of his teammates just unable to do anything. The Clockwork, the lone survivor, isolated by Cuckoo. Cuckoo, you're getting a little bit low, buddy, but does blink back in time. MNT now silenced up in the Ricky Cloud. Are they going to be able to kill him off? It's a team wipe there. TNC blast this game wide open. They're going to go take some racks here. Screw the Roche. It'll be there when they back off.
Yeah, I mean, if not for the tier 2s in both of the sidelines, this could actually have just been mega creep straight up for TNC, but it seems like the Sven at this point has kind of gone past his peak in terms of his effectiveness. The Ursa is really well and truly online, and this Ursa pick has been phenomenal for TNC this game. Didn't even do that amazing in the lane in terms of shutting down the Legion commander, but it really seems like TNC weren't that worried about the Legion. They know that a Sven lineup is always going to be pretty much 100% reliant on the Sven to win them the game. It's similar to Meepo in some regards. The Sven takes a lot of farm off of the map, and then really needs to utilize that effectively to win you the game. It's very difficult to win with Sven if he's not having a good time.
There we go, duel. They are going to lose the Nyx assassin. 1437 force staffing forward to try to go for the lift.
That was the gem.
Yeah, that was the gem. Meanwhile, down bottom, Lena did TP down on respawn. There we go. Hook shot in onto 1437. They're not going to let this Rubik off with a warning. The cold feet procs inside the cogs, and they will eventually find the kill. Back to the earlier point where Lena respawned, and instead of going to try to defend the top tower push, she TP'd down bottom and went for a little bit of rat, doing some chip damage to the tier 3, but I mean, not anything really worth writing home about.
Yeah, I mean, Mousesport's still making some nice plays here. I feel like for TNC, they maybe, after they got that kill on the Sven, were kind of thinking to themselves, all right, we already won this game pretty much. And I would more or less agree with them, but they do need to try and secure this next Roshan, and looks like maybe next time, probably going to be scouting that out in just a second. He's got these illusions as well, and yep, Madara making his way in here. He, as much as Sven is not an amazing Aegis carrier, the fact that he doesn't have buyback is pretty scary right now.
Yeah, it's sure would like that Aegis right now. The Roshan melting very, very quickly. Radiant taking their time with this, and they are going to be too late. Aegis and She's already collected by Mousesports, but they're still going to jump in anyway. Ricky makes the move in, gets off a nice smoke cloud. Cuckoo to follow up, but Madara, BK beat already. The hook shot forward for maybe next time. Briefly catches Cuckoo in place as Madara moves forward onto the Ursa, but nice AA blast will clip him. The duel holding him in place. There is a nice shout from Queen of Pain, able to get off her Sonic Wave. Spartan goes for the earn save, but will die anyway. Madara still trying to go ham here, but God's Strength not available, and the BKB already used. He is going to be sitting back, trying to get as much damage done as possible. Gets healed up by the Legion. He's going to go forward onto 1437. Skylark there as well to go for the lockdown. Madara gets out with just a scratch of health and turns this into kills. This Sven, I mean, if he's going down fighting. Looks like Skylark has crossed a little bit too deeply into enemy territory, and that will be a wicked 6 streak for the Queen of Pain. So, I mean, that was a little bit of a sloppy fight. I weren't sure who were the initiators, and it just seemed like it kept going in and out, and it seemed over, but then more reinitiations. Yeah,
Mousesports had some amazing vision around that fight that really let them find the Ursa. He didn't get his ultimate off. Skylark holding on to his ulti until the last moment. MNT is dead here.
He's got a brief second to sit back, enjoy the rest of his life, but yeah.
But yeah, the vision around the pit, allowing them to get that duel onto the Ursa before he really did too much in the fight. It was looking awkward for Mousesports because TNC actually successfully kited out a lot of the BKB and the ultimate duration from Sven, but it was actually sort of the other heroes really putting in a lot of work.
Yeah, we can see there, I mean, good lockdown. They really were able to go and focus down the Ursa, which is pretty big. Not only did they deny the Aegis, the Cheese, and the Roche to Ursa, but then they killed him off right outside the pit. And Sven did live throughout the entire fight. Unfortunately, all the rest of Mousesports are dropping, so it's really Sven versus the world in this game, it feels like.
Yeah, and it was a really nice steal from 1437 there as well. He managed to get his hands on the Warcry, which allowed him to survive a couple of extra auto attacks from the Sven, and then drag the Legion Commander and the Sven up onto the high ground, which gave Cuckoo the opportunity to chase forward and actually find that follow-up kill onto the Legion Commander. So lots of nice little individual plays from TNC just to kind of mitigate the situation that they found themselves in after that fight, but they still hold a very significant net worth lead. You know, the Sven still doesn't really have all that much more room to scale, at least in terms of his inventory. Sure, you can talk about Boots of Travel and a Moon Shard and this AC that he's working towards right now, but in terms of his teamfight contribution, I feel like those are relatively marginal improvements, and he'd much rather have that net worth on his other cores.
Trying to sneak around Cuckoo. They pop the Lincolns. There is going to be Skylark going forward, but immediate reaction. That Queen of Pain is taking no chances.
I wonder if TNC consider picking up a gem. Literally as I say that, they were playing so nicely with the gem, and it was allowing them to find kills on the Lina with the Shadow Blade, and as soon as they lose that, it feels like Thug gets sort of a breath of fresh air in this game and can actually start making some things happen in fights. So I think very good read from 1437, deciding, all right, we just need this gem. Let's pick it back up and be able to burst down the Lina at the beginning of these fights, because they are starting to kite the Sven very effectively. So they can, in a lot of ways, just leave him for last and focus on the squishier, much easier to kill targets over on the Mousesports side.
Blind hook shot comes in from the Clockwork, not able to find what he's looking for there. They are convinced that someone is hiding in these trees, but everyone from TNC is long gone, heading up towards the mid lane. I mean, again, full lane Iraq's cleared out. Mousesports, they've got to constantly be aware of this creep momentum pushing in mid, and so far it seems like TNC, they've got some good ward vision around, and they're feeling comfortable on the enemy side of the map.
Yeah, and the TNC support's getting quite farmed. We see the Blink Dagger up over on Tim's to go along with his Diffusal Blade, so he's going to be very difficult to kill, along with the Tricks of the Trade. Trouble for Rubik.
Yeah, initiation goes forward. That's the Bloodthorn shown off by Madara, so quick little kill for him. He's having some fun, and this is just going to be TNC's opportunity to go and take some ancient creeps. They back out very quickly. I like that choice from Raven. Does not overstay his welcome. See that illusion rune in the river. Just going to pop some Rickies out. Matara clears them off quickly. So Mouseports, I mean, are they chomping at the bit? Are they rearing to go? Or do they just want to sit back and farm some more?
No, I think they're really still at their their strongest timing. Sven's got his level 25. BKB starting to wear down a little bit. They might need to wait somewhat in between the... oh no, his buyback cooldown is actually back up. I was thinking that maybe they need to wait a little bit for that to come back up, but looks like he's actually got that ready to go, so...
Oh, big scout in. Thug in some trouble there. Gets silenced off before the Light Strike Array connects. Goes for that self-fuel, just buying some time, but Queen of Pain's still going to be there to rake in the kill. But can they turn this around? Ice Blast not going to connect as there's that self-fuels onto the Quap.
All right, and it seems like TNC have kind of gotten control of the game and gotten control of themselves a little bit once again. Kind of realizing that they still have the advantage, they still have some phenomenal pick-off, and so long as they're playing these team fights the right way, then it should be pretty difficult for them to lose the game at this stage. They're losing a couple of their tier 2s here and there.
Very, very bold play comes in from the Queen of Pain. The BKB expended as well. The duel's coming forward. It looks like they won't find the duel victory. Oh, Sonic Wave! They're able to turn that. That's a gem on the floor, but looks like it will be able to be recollected. Yeah, that's going to be a gem pickup again for Mouseport. So TNC, they lose that gem that you were just talking about was a huge reason they were able to keep that Lina under control.
Yeah, and oh my god, the value of the spell lifesteal in that little engagement from the Queen of Pain. Had the Mjolnir on, and it was pretty much just Mjolnir procs that was keeping the Quap alive, but manages to live long enough, kill off the Legion Commander, and this Queen of Pain, with the talent, actually has a whole lot more to say in the late game than the hero kind of used to. I feel like we're getting used to that fact, and that's part of the reason why people are willing to pick the Quap, because it doesn't really fall off kind of how it used to, but yeah, that is exactly an example of why people like the Queen of Pain late game so much.
Speaking of falling off, I want to talk a little more about the Ursa. I feel like in the last couple of team fights, he goes in, he's big, he's mean, he's ulted, he's BKB'd, but I mean, after that, it seems like Mouseports, they're pretty sufficiently able to kite him. He hasn't raked in a whole lot. He does pick up the Abyssal now, which is going to be some pretty nice guaranteed lockdown.
I feel like his matchup against Sven just continues to be pretty good as the game goes on, so I don't think it's that much of an issue for him. He is going to fall victim to some of the same things that Sven is experiencing right now, starting to get kited, but I think the big difference... Oh, actually, I guess Mouseports do have a couple of 4-stabs now as well on both of their supports, so maybe that isn't the big difference between the two lineups. I think TNC probably similar situation. Yeah, one on the Nyx Assassin and one on the Rubik, though, yeah, I think it's just that survivability factor from the Ursa. He might get kited more just because, well, both teams are kind of light on lockdown. So I think you're right. He does actually just kind of run into the same problems.
I like this itemization from Tim's here, realizing that as the fights go later and later, it's going to be the Sven and the Legion Commander that are just constantly a problem going for that lockdown and the right-click damage. The Halberd queued up for the Ricky, who's now pretty sufficiently transitioned into the core role.
Oh yeah, he's doing plenty of damage at this point. He's super annoying. I mean, the Basher, even if he's just getting a couple of auto attacks off in a fight, a single bash on one of these cores for Mouseports could be absolutely backbreaking. Mouseports also going for a couple of other items to try and deal with the Ursa here, as it looks like Legion Commander is going to be working her way towards Heaven's Halberd. Not too bad against the Queen of Pain either. Very useful resource for Skylark to have to be able to pop the Lincoln Sphere
Dusk
on the
clicks onto
Quap.
the Ricky. He's able to blink himself to safety, at least for now, delaying the initiation. But I mean, TNC, they're getting pretty aggressive here. They're going to TP back the Rubik. Do they want to fight under this tier 2 with all of Mouseports there, with all ults up?
I think they kind of want to wait for the item on the Nyx Assassin right now. Sam H just picked up an Ultimate Orb from the secret shop, so we'll see what he's going to be going for. Is this actually... Is this a Lincoln Sphere? Yeah, he's buying a Lincoln's right now. All right, so another item to throw on the Ursa or the Queen of Pain to help them out in these fights, really make the duel impossible to connect. And if the Sven can't actually get a Stormhammer off, it's going to be very difficult for him to lock down a target and kill them, especially with only a 5-second BKB duration.
Got a duel coming in. That is, yeah, Skylark, taking out that vision. Just got to make sure sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the longest cooldown in the world necessarily, so better safe than sorry. Both teams kind of waiting around for Roshan right now. It's about a minute away, but TNC, a little bit. It's interesting to see that Sam H goes for the Lincoln Sphere as opposed to trying to pick up something like the Aghanim Scepter. I think the Ags is really good on Nyx, but can also sometimes be a little bit overrated in terms of how it compromises your positioning. Sam H isn't really looking to be in the middle of these fights. He's more looking to use his Force Staff to help out his fellow heroes to be able to move around and kite the Sven. And if you buy the Ags, I feel like a lot of the time you're forced to use the Force Staff to save yourself, which is not necessarily ideal in this situation. But Mouse Sports probably only have a couple of smokes left as we move into this late stage of the game, and they are gambling that they can find a pick off right before this Roshan respawns. And they might be right, if not for the fact that TNC have amazing defensive positioning, and they're scouting this low ground already.
Yeah, Sam
Oh,
H.
nice scan, though.
I mean, I really do like that pickup onto the next assassin, just that Lincoln Sphere. Not only can it be put onto the cores, well, I gotta hold that thought as the fight's gonna be breaking out here. They're gonna be moving forward, that long-range Stormhammer clips, but they blow the Ice Blast, the Rubik evaporates, and they got what they're looking for. Cuckoo moves forward, he's solo, but the AA forces to freedom, unfortunately forces right into the jaws of the Queen of Pain, who's stuck on the cliff. Queen of Pain is going to be able to blink herself down, and now that low health BKB Lina will run to freedom. Meanwhile, on the backlines, Cuckoo finds another kill onto maybe next time, who just overstayed his welcome a little bit. Wasn't able to get back down, so Mouseports lose too. They do have buyback on the clock, but that AA is dead for good. Yule's up onto the Sven. He's in some trouble there. Madara gonna go Warcry himself. Wow, this is a pretty deep rotation. Wow, TNC, they're all in for this. They're looking to close it out right now. Light Strike off the mark. The Svenny's running for dear life. Madara goes down, immediately buys back. Clockwork back in the fight as well. Ursa trapping into the cogs, but he's going to go try to get the kill. Clockwork is down. Clockwork buys back all of Mousesports. They're buying back if they've got it, because they've got to defend now. This is a beautiful fight for TNC. They're going in for more. This Legion Commander going to get locked down. The Impale comes forward, and they're able to munch her to bits. She's done. She drops the gem. She's the last one with buyback on her team, but this is getting tight. They're going for another tier 3, and that's going to be a set of racks as well. Sam H just puppy guarding the gem, picks up a second gem for himself, because, you know, why not? Little life of luxury. And this is huge. TNC can take this, and when they feel like buybacks have been forced, when they've overexerted themselves, they can back right off into the Roche pit. Sam H moves in. Madara getting ready to go, and I mean, he's jumping in. They gotta go for something now. Duel comes in, and Sven's gotta put out the damage. Queen of Pain will eventually go down, and that's gonna be a huge kill. Now TNC, they've gotta go.
Yeah, TNC, I mean, once again, maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves. They could have backed up and gone for the Roshan instead, but they were hoping that they could just get that kill on the Sven and close out the game right there and now. Cuckoo has played, I think, so well this game on the Queen of Pain, with that Arcane Rune, especially in that last fight, able to keep up with the cores, you know, continue catching them with the Yule Scepter. Does stumble a little bit at the very last moment, but it looks like TNC might still be able to secure the Roshan, as Mousesports just kind of dealing with the shambles that their base is being put into right now.
Yeah, going in with those defensive wards, just sentries everywhere, making sure there's no more initiations with the Nyx crawling around, Invis and Carapace. Now, this looks like Roche finished off. Nice smoke cloud to secure that there's no one just sneaking around, but this is really difficult now. Not only do they have to go and wipe all of TNC, they've got to do it with no buybacks, and they've got to kill that Ursa twice.
Yeah, I mean, as much as Cuckoo has been playing well, I think we have to remember that so much of this game was set up by Tims. He went to the mid lane, he won it, he's almost completely shut Thug out of this game. We look at his Lina, he's got one Bloodstone charge remaining. He struggled in all of these fights because the Riki just keeps scouting him in the backlines, and this last pick from Tims has been so valuable. He's even getting to the point where he's solo killing the Lina, I think, in some of these fights. It's just really, really difficult for Thug to deal with. Tims has had a fantastic game along with Cuckoo.
Yeah, we've seen Riki fall off in the meta, but he's back. This is a game where he flourishes, and honestly, I was nervous with the double invis. I thought Mouseports might have been able to go and just get really value wards down, and they did. They got a couple of nice picks, but TNC, they just went through it, and they played that typical TNC Dota where, you know, they take fights when Mouse is expecting them to back off and reset.
Yeah, that's the TNC aggression. You know, but I think the other nice thing is that they have been pretty calculating about everything. You know, we talked about the Ursa play. It's been a little while ago, at least as far as this game is concerned. You know, 30 minutes or so ago. But he played the early game slow. He knew that his team was in control of the map in the early stages, and he just went and played over on the opposite side of the map. He farmed. He used his Vlads to secure that tier 1 tower. He got the majority of his Blink Dagger money without ever having to go and take the Roche. And I feel like that's something that a lot of Ursa players sort of factor in and rely on, saying, okay, I'm going to secure the Roshan at some point, and that's going to help me get my Blink. But he had it mostly completed even without having to head into the Roshan pit. Of course, it helps a lot that TNC got a bunch of towers early, and that gold sort of flowed into his pockets and helped accelerate his items. But I really have to commend Raven on his farming efficiency, especially on a hero that's not really well known for, for farming. And because they were putting pressure on the Sven, he actually kind of stayed neck and neck with him this entire game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Sven, we talked about him in lane. He did really well. He had some big items early on. I mean, he was pretty much 6-slotted before anyone else in the game even had
his Master Madness was crazy fast, like six and a half minutes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very impressive. They had some stacks set up for him. I think it's kind of a shame for Mouse Sports that there weren't more stacks for the Lina. The Sven was already ahead and doing well. And looks like we're unpaused and ready
we are
to
back
continue
in the game,
here. But
so.
The Sven was doing well, and they just sort of got him further ahead, whereas I feel like they really needed a little bit more impact out of this Lina this game, and maybe had the Ancient Apparition maybe spent a little bit of time stacking just regular camps as opposed to the Ancients. They could have given that to the Lina and sort of accelerated her back into the game just that little bit more, but it might be too little too late at this stage. TNC, with that Aegis and Cheese secured, probably looking to go for one final fight, kill off the Sven if they can, and that should really be the end of the game unless Mouse Sports are able to make some really nice kiting plays with the items that they do have.
There are no buybacks from Mouse Sports right now. The AA and the Lina are too poor, and everyone else is on cooldown. So that's going to be something that TNC are definitely taking into account. All they've got to do is pick off those initiators. If they can lock down clock before the fight really gets started, then they know they're not going to have to deal with the cogs lockdown. They know there's not going to be that hook shot mini stun. It's pretty important that TNC just find one or two pickoffs, and that's their opening. That's their chance to win the entire game. Now, Spartan, he's caught off guard. He's going to try to go for the TP out, but the Yule stops him at the last second, and that's going to be, again, that little window, just the support going down that they need to start blasting this open. TNC, they are going to get in full Divine mode now, surrounding him in top lane, in mid lane, forcing this Clockwork out of position potentially. And currently, no high ground vision for TNC. They don't have those deep wards placed, but, I mean, this is still TNC ready to charge.
That was so disgusting from Cuckoo because he gave the AA hope. He actually canceled he canceled the TP at like the last possible moment. They sort of, I think if you're Spartan, they're thinking, oh, maybe he used somebody else somewhere else along the way, and he doesn't actually have it, and I'm going to get the successful TP out. But Cuckoo, cool and collected, making exactly the right plays, and really showing Mouz who's boss right now.
So that's 2 lanes of super creeps now. It's just bottom lane that stands between them and Megas. And, I mean, how is Mouse's D push? Could they hold against Megas for the next 10, 15 minutes?
I mean, Sven can, but like we've been talking about so far this game, he's just not going to get that much stronger moving forward. His inventory is capped out. He's at max level. So even if they do hold, it feels like TNC are just going to kind of pick them to pieces, and it's a style of play that they've been excelling at this entire game and even this entire tournament. And you look at this positioning right now, they're all spread out. They're not giving any opportunities. They're only putting the Ursa in front, and he's got the Aegis.
I mean, yeah, they're just trying to get everyone to blow everything they've got on Raven. That's going to be Raven escaping with a sliver of health. The Stormhammer doesn't even finish him off. Finally, the Aegis is popped, but that took 3 ults from Mouse Sports to get down, and now Ursa's coming back with full health, full mana. His team's ready to go. The only thing they're lacking is the Enrage and the Vendetta, but, I mean, they're just content to go and start pushing, start blinking in. I'm keen to see how Mouse Sports hold this one, because they've got their odds stacked against them.
Yeah, the Queen of Pain is so difficult to kill. I think the only reason that they got that kill previously when they dueled Cuckoo over at the top lane was because they actually had both BKBs active, so the Mjolnir procs weren't healing him at all because they weren't actually doing damage. So that was one way that they were able to bring him down, but you look at Cuckoo. He's got 8k gold here, just going to pick up a Moon Shard, snack on that as he makes his way back down towards the bottom side of the map. And
I mean, this Quap has put the game on her shoulders, even from the laning phase, where she was making space for the Ursa to come online, for the Ursa to take Roche. Queen of Pain really took it upon herself to start carrying, and that's something we talked about with TNC. Oh, hold that thought, as the Nyx will get scouted there.
Yeah.
But again, TNC, what they do is they set up a very successful lane for Cuckoo, and they've got confidence in him that he will turn it into a successful rest of the game as they go in. Laguna Blade burn. This Rubik does end up melting. Raven, he's using that BKB, going to crawl back down to the low ground as now Cuckoo just goes to work. Madara gets solo, hookshot in. This Sven's going down. The Sven has no buyback. Do they have enough health? Do they have enough damage to actually withstand this? It looks like those 3 kills on TNC are enough to force him back. Thug's looking for more. Cuckoo trying to blink to freedom. Raven by his side. Is Thug going to be able to find the wraparound initiation here? Rocket Flare goes. They get the vision they need of the Ursa, but that is such an ambitious kill. Lena's Shadow Blade expires, and she's got to get herself to the safety of the trees.
Yeah, TNC, they're just kind of doing the math on can they 2v4 right now? And looks like they might.
I mean, that's a TNC math right there.
Yeah, that is definitely some TNC math. They've got the Abyssal Blade back off cooldown for the Ursa, so they should, in theory, be able to pop somebody pretty much instantly. But looks like TNC may be content to back off a little bit. There are creeps in the base hitting the tier 4s for Mouse Sports right now. They're going to get somebody over there to defend that.
Yeah,
looks like
Clockwork, come on, Clockwork, take care of that.
Maybe next time using the hook shot just to help make sure that those tier 4 towers stay alive a little bit longer. I liked the idea from TNC there. They flashed the Nyx Assassin on the top lane so that they could hopefully get somebody on Mouz to initiate on him, and then they could use that opportunity to punch their way through at bottom and get that tier 3, but Mouse Sports not falling for it at all. As soon as they saw the Nyx Assassin top, and they didn't get the immediate initiation, they all just ran over to bottom and took that excellent team fight. So Mouz still, playing this pretty nicely. Ooh, blink away.
Yeah, Thug right there again, hiding his positioning nicely, trying to bait a duel. Cuckoo chasing up. Defensive BKB from Skylark. Skylark just on the run, but look at the right clicks coming out of Cuckoo right now. Can blink forward, can try to reinitiate. Cuckoo makes his way up to the high ground, but the BKB expires, and that Quap does not want to play any dangerous games. Wants to play very, very safe, waiting for the rest of her teammates to come forward.
Yeah, TNC just kind of figuring out the best way for themselves to end the game. At this stage, I don't know if they think about grabbing something like an AC on the Queen of Pain just to buff up her right-click damage, just that little bit more so that they can look to close this one out. Ursa has gone back for a Desolator, so I think that's also sort of the same motivation, but Mouse Sports very impressed by how well they've been able to hold here with 2 lanes of racks down. But TNC, I mean, they could just continue to push this net worth lead out if they really want to. At
30K right now. The problem for Mouse Sports is, does it get any easier? Say they completely wipe TNC and they're able to go push up, take out the rest of the tier 2s. This game is not going to get easier for the Sven and easier for these supports that are just crippled.
It doesn't get easier for the Sven, but you can argue that the Legion Commander has infinite scaling.
She sure does.
I mean, I don't know how realistic that necessarily is for Mouse Sports here, but they hold long enough. You get another couple hundred damage on Skylark from the duels, and all of a sudden he could be running around very easily soloing heroes who move later, and he doesn't even necessarily have a 6-slot build at all on this Legion Commander. So there is still room to grow on the 2 cores from the 2 cores other than the Sven from Mouse Sports, but I think that's a somewhat niche way to win. Could happen.
It's
it looks like
the light
Mouz
at the end of the tunnel, man.
Yeah, there's at least some way to win here if you're Mouz. Unfortunately for Spartan, he's actually managed to pick up some farm. We saw him with 600 net worth, 20-something minutes into this game.
He was just a sentry ward shop the entire time.
Yeah. Well, they bought the gem, and he had, didn't have to buy as many sentry wards after that. So fortunately, able to pick up the scepter, able to pick up the force staff. He's pretty happy with his position in this game, and I mean, maybe we start seeing some crazy stuff like that one EG game where they bought a bunch of Dagons and their supports and were able to make the most ridiculous comeback. It's not bad on Ancient Apparition by any stretch of the imagination. The Ice Vortex actually beefing up a Dagon 5 damage a lot, but there's no way that Spartan's going to farm that. That's even more ridiculous than the infinite scaling Legion argument.
It's possible for him to scale up. And speaking of scaling, our Queen of Pain, I mean, we talked about how just ahead she's been. Look at the net worth chart. She's still dominating at 63 minutes in. Where can she go from here? I mean, leveling up the boots into level 2 as Rubik just gets melted, but that's okay.
Yeah, got the BOT2.
Oh, Thug! Impale off the mark, and Thug will get a chance to escape. So Nyx giving away his positioning, and I don't think they scouted out the Ricky right there.
Yeah, TNC just kind of poking and prodding. They have gone for a Bloodthorn on the Queen of Pain, so a little bit more right-click damage from Cuckoo, going to help out the Ursa a little bit as well, since he doesn't have a crit or anything like that. But looks like Raven's trying to position himself to try and grab this tier 3 while they actually make space on the top side of the map. And Tim's might even be happy to die here. We'll see what happens. He's still being chased, but Dara blinking into the trees.
Yeah, they're trying to clear him out. I mean, they know someone's there. The Ricky just sitting back waiting for the blink dagger.
I mean, this is just a distraction, though, and Mouz are kind of realizing that as these 2 waves, bottom and mid, are both going to come pushing in. The other thing that TNC can do is that they can wait for the next Rosh. It is pretty much a maximum Roshan respawn here, so that's going to be back up in about a minute's time. I know it looks like TNC maybe just waiting for that right now. I don't know what else. The Ricky's still scaling pretty nicely, so TNC still have a little bit to say as this game continues to to drag on.
Yeah, 65 minutes in. Is this the longest game of the tournament so far?
It may very well be. I feel like both of these teams have had pretty low averages in terms of their match times.
Yeah, these guys are vicious. They're feisty. They want to go. They want to win and have a.
Lena TP straight into a stun.
This is huge there. They're able to go and hookshot. Clockwork able to go and break up the fight, at least for now, allowing for that defensive Yules. And Lena's able to get off the Shadow Blade. Clockwork gives his life for this with no buyback, but Thug is still alive. Meanwhile, Madara forced to BKB and tries to turn this. Stormhammer onto 2. There's a duel to follow up. Light Striker ready to hold everyone in place, but the Queen of Pain is just starting to go in. She's still full health and full mana, doing a ton of damage now to Skylark, and blinks forward onto the Sven, who goes down. Immediate buyback from him, and Skylark caught on his way back to the base. Oh, they can't afford to lose that Legion. That's 120 seconds with no Legion. They're only 2 heroes to try to defend this, and it seems like that is going to be GG. Mouseports, after 65 minutes, have to give up game number 1. Elimination still on the line, but 2 more games to see what happens here. TNC must be feeling really confident right now.
I feel like for Mousesports, I liked the draft, but it didn't feel like a Mousesports lineup. They picked it, and I feel like they could have played a little bit more defensively in the earlier stages of the game, but I feel like they kind of maybe let their emotions get a little bit the better of themselves or something along those lines, and they were running in looking for kills on the other side of the map, and that just didn't really work out with this style of draft. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe we'll see a little bit of an adjustment in game 2, but then again, TNC seemed so prepared in the draft for this game. They got rid of the Nature's Prophet, they got rid of a lot of the heroes that Mousesports have been successful with so far in this lower bracket run, and I guess it's going to have to be some adjustment from Mouz.
Yeah, I mean, and TNC played that so cleanly. They played their typical TNC Dota where, they catch Mouseports off guard, they go in as 3 against 5, as 4 against 5, and take those unexpected fights and just force Mouseports to react, which isn't really what they want to be doing. They want to be taking those initiations, and that's game number 1 in the books. TNC are your victors, and let's go ahead and kick it back to the panel for some more analysis.
All right, thank you very much, Annie and Basekip. Great casting per usual, and another win in the bag for TNC. A tough one to close out. Mouz made them work for it, but now that means Mousesports 1 loss away from elimination in the event.
I feel like in some ways that game, the fact that it went so long is deceptive, because if TNC had just a little bit more push, that game's over at like
even 1
minutes.
hero that could push.
Yeah, if that Nyx is like a Leshrac, the game is over way faster.
Even if they built the Deso on Ursa earlier, but he got it last item replacing the Vlad. So
that's that 26 kills. If that's not the MVP, I'm leaving. Like 26 kills on the Queen of Pain. That's the top kill total on the hero since TI6. Top 10 all time on the hero. We're talking
62,000 hero damage.
Yeah. That's wow. This was an all-time QoP performance.
That's actually ridiculous.
Had plenty of help.
That's 1,000 damage per minute.
Yeah. No, that's.
When you put it like that, it's actually ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane.
I wish we could see the lifesteal too. I'm sure those are in the
stats,
the thousands.
Oh, you can't see that though. Like percentages don't work, don't they?
No. Healed.
Heal 0.
Yeah, but it's an incredible amount. We saw a lot of moments like the power of the Mjolnir on that hero. Once you're level 25, it's so much lifesteal.
I want to talk about how TNC approached the game actually. Like, first of all, Mouz's draft was highly based off Legion and Lina comboing together, right? Mm-hmm. The 2 heroes were meant to create space for Madara to farm on the Sven, to run around, to create all this map pressure. And TNC realized this and destroyed Tug in the middle lane. He was so under-leveled, so under-farmed that he couldn't really get the tempo that he wanted to combo up with the Legion. Yeah. So just destroying this 1 hero crushed their entire draft.
Yeah. And the casters talked about that. So it was... They spent so much in terms of guaranteeing that great early game for the Madara Sven. 6.5-minute Mask of Bandits. That's actually in the top 10 fastest times for the item. Over 1,000 items of Mask of Bandits pickup since TI5. That's one of the 10 fastest. But Thug was just getting abused so hard in that mid lane. Was really never a factor until 40 minutes.
And it goes a lot down to the supports as well. Like, what is AA or Clockwork really going to do? There was one time when we saw Nahas that he could have maybe saved them, but it's still really hard to save anyone with them heroes.
I think the AA and Clockwork by themselves were okay. The genius of TNC, though, in this draft is that between the mobility of the Queen of Pain and the Riki and the Nyx running around and creating chaos, 2 out of 3 of the AA, the Clock, and the Lina were dead practically at the beginning of each individual fight. And from there, you got the 2 melee cores walking around going, guys.
And while this is happening, the Ricky just goes on Sven, right, and just shuts him down
Right,
with the
yeah.
smoke cloud.
Like
What
you
can
said,
he do?
this was another one of those games where we just saw Sven get completely kited. Is this hero overrated right now? That's the question, I think.
It's starting to feel
think
like
so,
it. I
yeah.
mean, when he gets that 10-second BKB, he's on top of the world. But once you get down to that 5-second BKB, it just feels so lackluster. We saw so many fights where he pops the BKB, stutters a little bit, and by the time he's ready to actually fight and find a target, it's basically expired.
Yeah.
I think the reason people thought Sven was good, right, was because the Ancients changed. The 1 minute respawn time, the cleave, the Mask of Madness, all of these kind of benefit Sven a lot. But in the current way, the state of the game, people are playing too fast to be able to stack Ancients. There's no time in the game.
I think this is a mistake, though, the way that we're structuring this conversation, because, like, if Sven is bad, then Ursa's bad, right? They're both
Ursa-
vulnerable to being
Ursa
kited.
fights. He doesn't kill.
right?
He doesn't kill stacks. He doesn't rely on farm to be ahead.
But the point
They're
is,
essentially different.
melee cores like that, burst physical damage melee cores like that, are going to look really, really good when their team has a control advantage around them, and really, really bad when they don't. I mean, you interchange Sven and Ursa in that game, and it's practically.
I kind of disagree. I
Doesn't
think
the Ursa ult change the equation a
yeah,
little
it
bit? That gives
definitely
him
does.
and the
It definitely
Roshan
does.
potential as well.
Yeah, the Roshan potential, and then also the item that we haven't talked about yet is
Halberd.
Heaven's Halberd. Arguably one of the top 5 items in Dota. This item is absolutely insane. You say the BKB comes out on Sven, and he's a god. With Heaven's Halberd being picked up on one of the cores, he's actually not. He's insane.
Yeah, so we've got some replays to take a look at here, and
Like,
a lot of team fights in this game to remember. It's a 65-minute match.
And this is what we've talked about. This is what we talked about at the beginning of the series, that the drafting of Mouz is coming back, but the team fight execution of TNC is just so far superior and consistent right now.
Yeah,
the amount of times that the Ricky was able to catch out the AA and solo kill him.
such a brutal game for Spartan.
Yeah. We were looking at his net worth and trying to figure out where it was coming from, because he only had brown boots and a windlace.
And it was going down.
Yeah.
because the
It
wards-
was going down as he was placing the
The
wards.
wards were getting placed.
Brutal. And he picks it for himself. You know, he wants the pain.
I mean, they finally found a couple of okay team fights. He eventually got the Aghanim Scepter, but he spent most of that game just on food stamps.
Like, just comparing AA in team fights, if he hits the ulti, it's great.
Right.
But if you compare it to like Ricky, who's just disrupting your carry so much, he's just like, you know, he can go on Sven, someone can dust, and then he just ultis.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he just creates chaos.
But you saw this in multiple fights too. That the melee cores of Mouz were kind of almost forced to do a delta split, and then TNC, once the fight is broken up at all, TNC just have so much more catch.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm noticing about a lot of these clips and that I was noticing in the game is the amount of focus that the Ursa was putting on this Legion. And I think it's because the Legion duel was so important in terms of locking down the enemy team. They had so many agile heroes that needed to be locked down there trying to combo with that Lina. So the Ursa, obviously being the counter to the Legion, is just like, I'm just going to go on this guy every single team fight. And it turned out extremely well because they did not have the lockdown. And that just allowed the other people to focus on kiting the Sven.
It forces him to use the press to the attack on himself as well,
Yeah,
which he
yeah.
never really wants
Yeah,
to do.
exactly. You want to use it for the Sven because
Yeah.
Sven's getting kited.
Yeah,
exactly.
You talked about that counter in the Ursa versus the LC in the draft, Jenkins, and it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, where you don't really want to duel the Ursa in case he gets the ult off,
Yeah, exactly.
but you don't really want to duel one
This
of his
was
friends
funny.
either
Yeah, yeah.
because Ursa will just kill you.
I think AA died to the Carapace Ice Blast there,
Yeah,
which
the-
was totally accidental by the Knicks.
The Carapace was top lane in another fight, and Nick was about to die, so he's like, I'm going to Carapace right before I die. And then AA actually just happened to get
передать привет кому-то.
Mec panel draft
It's a very high priority in this tournament. Same with
They
the
have
Knights.
The Night Stalker, when you talk about the heroes that you want to ban
Yeah.
against this team, it's the Night Stalker Wisp.
I hate to kind of switch gears here, but I really wanted to mention this
Go
one.
for it.
TNC, that was super impressive. The fact that they're smoking with one person on their team dead.
Yeah.
They are consistently doing this, and they're consistently catching out the enemy team because if somebody on the enemy team is dead, tell me, from your pubs, would you expect the enemy it's insane. It's insanity. So guess what? You just spread them. If you're not looking to fight, if you're not looking to take objectives, you spread the map, you be greedy, and what does that open you up to? That opens you up to getting ganked. And every single time they do this, they're getting a core pickoff, and the enemy team can't respond to it because they're just so bewildered by the fact that they're going to smoke with one person dead.
And it's I'm just going to generalize that point a little bit because I think that's absolutely valid, but it's not just the smokes. You saw that in the last closeout game against IGV with the bat buyback. TNC is all about a team. They're a turnaround team. They're a team that is going to turn and fight into you when you don't expect it. They're not afraid to fight 4v5.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the getting the kills when there's 4 alive when you smoke, like teams just have a checklist in their head of things. Okay, there's no one showing on the map. They're smoked.
It's 100%
the lanes.
the
The lanes are
checklist.
pushed in.
Yeah.
They're smoked. They
Exactly.
have these like and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're safe, and then they're dead.
100%. That's the thing. You have this intuitive checklist. Every single team has it, and this is adding something new to the checklist that people haven't really done before. I don't think
there's one person dead.
Yeah.
4 people alive. Are they smoking?
I think what TNC is actually doing is they're deciding that we can fight 4v5. This is an opportunity to take a fight.
Yeah.
Or cooldowns have been used. This is an opportunity to take a fight because they see that 1 or 2 people are dead. They're going to feel safe. They actually see value in that safety that the enemy team feels, and I don't think any other team has really had that level of insight into the enemy mind before. This is extremely impressive. To be
It
honest.
reminds me a lot. We saw a couple games. I think Newbie did this. We saw a couple other teams do it during the group phase where they fought into a Night Stalker at the tail end of nighttime when you just don't expect to be initiated on a lot of this. And I give Bobo a lot of credit for this. He's sort of the one that explained this to me so well, that a lot of Dota is understanding how the enemy team perceives you at a certain point and acting in a way that they do not expect.
It's honestly pretty next level. It's the checklist.
amazing.
It's 100% the checklist, and it's the fact that people are finding things that aren't on the checklist. So it's just
Very cool, actually.
taking people out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And are other teams doing that? You said you noticed TNC's doing
I don't.
it, but that's
I've never seen that
a
before.
new trick, huh?
Yeah, I've never seen that before unless it's something like we have to smoke to take a Roche, but people are kind of feeling like, oh, I don't like the idea of doing this, but we have to. Whereas with TNC, they're like, we got this.
Yeah. So maybe worth remembering here as well, TNC had first pick coming into that game. I believe it alternates choice, not a hard alternation. So Mouz might not have first pick, but I think they'll choose first pick. Is that a pretty likely assumption here?
Just given the way these games have been going, I feel like first pick between the choice of that hero, not things like not having to ban the Wisp, the opponent has to ban the Wisp, right? And the second pick in the second phase. I think first pick's really good right now.
So how does that change the equation coming into game 2? I mean, is that a big advantage for Mouz in terms of drafting? No? Yes.
I definitely think it is, considering coming out of that game. They're going to be trying to focus more on having more of a favorable roaming situation, whether or not that be focusing on having other lanes that are easier to roam to, something like that, having a better safe lane support that's not going to things like that. It could be, or it could just be picking an easier roamer, something like that.
And the roaming does not necessarily have to be MNT, because the biggest thing when I look at Mouz right now, I look at the 3 heroes. You've got the Furion, you got the Wisp, and you got the Night Stalker. They got first overall pick. They're going to get one of those 3 heroes. And the Nature's Prophet can solve a lot of that roaming situation without MNT having to show
point.
I think you have to think about the Nyx Assassin as well. I think that was a huge point in that game. Like they started off with it, they opened with it, and it just created this kind of safety net for the draft. They could play it as 4, they could play it as 3, and it also counters like a lot of heroes that are popular.
That was like the classic SEA Nyx game that you just saw. I mean, it's just in the way that Nyx Assassin was played around the map, and they do it at the 3 as well as the 4 position.
I mean, going back to the Sven thing, I think in the draft, Mouse Sports probably needs to dial back on the Sven picking and just.
I'm loving Venomancer, Razor, these heroes that don't actually have to attack to do damage.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's too many items that kite, too many items that like control.
Solar Crest, Heaven's Halberd.
And as much as we've been talking about Heaven's Halberd, it didn't even come out in that game until 45 minutes. I mean, that was when Ricky first picked it up.
4 staffs, there's just too much to deal with.
They could have even made that game worse for the Sven earlier on if they wanted to.
They could have, but they had so much to deal with it already. They're just like, we're going to go for straight damage, make this AA's life absolutely miserable.
The Yule Scepters were actually the main thing. The double Yules.
Yeah,
Quap got a huge amount of value out of the Yules in that game. I still, when you guys are talking about Sven, that's the factors that we're talking about here. This have always been an issue for Sven. So it's always been very vulnerable to kiting. It's just the way you play around it.
I think Sven he needs to farm, and carries now. They don't want to farm. They want to take objectives. They want to fight. They want to TP and go as 5.
I think we're going to agree. I am still very much on the Sven bandwagon.
Okay.
I think that hero is. I still think that hero is really, really strong.
I personally don't think Sven is. I don't think his tempo is quite fast enough. I think something like an Ursa is from minute 1. He's going to be really strong in that laning phase. And maybe it would change if somebody did like a dual off lane into the Ursa. But in this particular situation, the Ursa was free to do whatever. And I mean, the Sven honestly was too. To be honest,
in a way that game, it showcased how much Sven is dependent on his team, because the Sven himself was off to such a huge net worth lead, but everybody else on his team was so far behind. Like that was one of those situations where you wish Sven could like give Axe to teammates. He really needed to just get the farm on somebody else on his team, anyone else.
Yep. Whereas with the Ursa, he doesn't really, he has the ulti to work with.
Right.
So if you're getting kited, at least you have that.
I'm not sure. I was trying to glance over. I've sort of been cheating as our casters get in the lobby to see where we're at, and it looks like we are 10 out of 10 right now, waiting for the game to start. So we should have
the drafting noise. That's misleading.
Coming up momentarily.
I heard the theme. And I did that too.
Is checking out replays. It looks like.
Looks like they'll take another second here. So, big stuff. Game 2, lower bracket. It seems hard to say it, but actually this tournament's getting pretty close to wrapping up. The final day is just the best of 5 grand finals, and tomorrow it's just lower bracket finals and upper bracket finals. So
and a lot of pressure on both of these teams, because given what's happened in the summit, that you've got LGD and Secret in the winners bracket finals of that event, it's starting to look like you're going to need to win here to earn that TI invite, right? Because those 2 teams now very much in the conversation to get added to that list.
Yep. The way TNC played that last game, though, I think they could make that run. Remember, in the upper bracket, we still have Planet Odd and Newbie. Those are the teams secured there. That's going to be one hell of a good series, by the way. Very much looking forward to that tomorrow. But do you think TNC can best whoever loses that series in the lower bracket finals, assuming they can take a win here?
I think they can. I mean, they technically tied for first in the group, so and that was the death group.
Group A was definitely a bit more intimidating. That was Newbie, Vici, TNC, and Mouz in Group A.
Yeah. And that was best of 1s, and there were some issues with people staying up all day, coming in late. So there was a lot of externalities, I suppose. Yeah. Whereas with this is going to be more, the better team is far more likely to win in this situation. And I think TNC is really, really showing that they're an extremely capable team.
Yeah, they've actually really impressed
consistency me. Consistency is the one thing that's striking me most about TNC. The drafts are consistent, the executions are consistent. I'm not quite convinced that they're going to beat the top 4 teams yet.
Yeah.
See,
But they're awfully
to
good.
that point, I would have said consistency without doing the same thing over and over. They pulled out that Oracle. That completely caught us all off guard.
that was-
Something that we hadn't thought of.
Consistency
In their performance.
Consistency
but
and predictability are very different things, and in fact,
exactly.
the one can actually imply the opposite of the other. Because if you are consistently giving yourself an advantage in the draft, it requires a certain amount of unpredictability.
Innovation, yeah.
Look at the problems
Absolutely.
that newbies been having deep in these events, where their drafts are becoming more predictable. That's been hurting them, right?
Yeah.
TNC is throwing in just enough wrinkles.
The last pick, Ricky. Like,
Yep.
perfect example there.
And I think maybe a big factor for that is the fact that they have to play through all of these games, and you know they've shown great resilience in the fact that they're still remaining consistent, but they're on the brink of defeat in every single series, not in every single game. Obviously, they're playing extremely well and having really successful games. But with that being said, they've been
series itself.
Yeah, the series itself.
draft,
They've been they're about to be knocked out
let's
every
go.
series. So.
All right, game 2, boys and girls. So left side, we've got Wisp Nightstalker banned by TNC, and looks like Sand King Nyx Assassin banned out by Mouz,
First
leading
pick
into that
AA.
first pick AA. Yeah.
After what we saw in the last game, they believe in this hero.
They do. They really
But
Well-
we talked about the advantage, the fact that the Nature's Prophet was on the table for Mouse.
Yeah.
I think it had a lot to do with them not having the combo heroes with AA being strong. Like it wasn't necessarily AA himself being weak, but the heroes he needed to be strong at a certain timing weren't quite there because of the amount of aggression they put on the mid lane.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can lose a match with something, and it's just like, the timing wasn't there. We need to just make sure the timing happens and hit that power spike for sure. And then the clockwork
the
coming out for
Clockwork
TNC.
opener.
All right. Kind of similar to Ricky against AA. He can always find him
Yeah, yeah.
and just destroy him. There's no way
And,
AA will have a 4-stuff or anything anytime soon.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the Clockwork TNC typically plays that as an offlaner, and I think they actually did this against AA, and there was some.
We've seen.
I think it does
believe
tend to
we've
be a
seen
Sam
little
H
bit of it.
hero,
We've
much
seen a
more
little
so
bit
than
of Tim's
Tim's.
clock, I want to say.
The issue with AA in general is how he can either be really strong or really weak in a lane.
Yeah.
Right? If you combo well with certain heroes, he can
Yeah.
be really good. But if you don't, he's just useless.
Yeah, he feeds a clock for
No,
sure.
you're right, Jenkins. It is pretty much exclusively through here. That's right.
Yeah, this AA is going to feed the clock if the lane isn't really strong, as Shane is saying. So I guess what do you guys think they're going to try to combo with the AA?
I still like them picking up the Furon.
I think Nature's Prophet's 100%.
Is Veno still an option? The old classic Veno AA?
I think if they want the Veno, they have to get it here. But the Furion AA is also very good. It's
Furion's not too great against Clockwork.
it's not too great against Clock. Yeah, it's not too great against Quap either, which presumably is why they first picked this Clock.
The
because-
Treants have like no magical resistance. They just
Yeah.
get burned by
Yep,
Quap.
yep, and the Flare as well.
Yeah.
And of course the Clock can just so easily find the Furion while
And
he's
it's a
still
comfort
pushing.
pick. I mean, obviously Cuckoo quite skilled when it comes to Queen of Pain.
I guess you just get the plus Treants talent and put them all in a straight line. and you
Actually, Clockwork's actually bad against Furion.
Because you can take yourself out
Because you
with
can
the
take yourself
spell.
out of the cogs. I
With the spell.
totally forgot about that. That's like, yeah, that
But
was.
you can still catch them.
You can still catch them. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's like it's a double-edged sword. Some people say that Clockwork is better against Furion. Some people say that Furion is good against Clockwork.
Player preference.
I think offlaners tend to say Furion's better because they like playing Furion because it's fun. And then, well, Clock players versus Furion players. You get what I'm saying?
The other thing about the Veno is that the Veno is much more likely to be there for you in the second phase as Mouse if you want it. That's probably
Compared
not
to the
getting
Furion,
big.
for
yeah,
sure.
the if you don't pick Nature's Prophet here, TNC is probably going to take that hero off the table.
Yeah, and TNC actually hasn't picked. They haven't picked. This Mouse.
Wow.
What am I?
Mouse.
Yeah, they're spending some time talking about
I mean,
this.
Mouse
That's
hasn't
wise.
picked Venom.
You can
Mouse
tell
hasn't picked Venom.
just from the facial expressions here that they're thinking very hard about this.
Yeah.
Obviously having some kind of a disagreement about the right way to go about pairing this AA.
Yeah, I really like the Mouse have their own style. Who else first picks AA like this consistently? It's their own complete style.
Puck.
Oh, the Thug Puck.
Yeah,
Now that's
this is-
that's a classic.
It's weird. We've been seeing this one kind of not prioritized as much with these two teams.
And this is, I think there's a little bit of motivation here in terms of your mid lane player who is a big playmaker and so important in the matchup against Cuckoo in this series, just had a really bad game. It is a lot of teams will then turn around and give him pick priority in the next match.
Yeah. This is another one
Just
of
to
those
try and
heroes.
get his morale back
Just
up.
get him going.
Yeah,
and there is some 1-3, 2-3 flex pick value with the puck in
Yeah.
terms of the offlane. Not necessarily Mouz, not necessarily a team you think of when you talk about offlane puck,
Right.
but that possibility is there.
Yeah, I'm sure they're more than capable of that sort of thing. This is another hero that pairs really well with AA in the sense that you can pretty much kill anybody from full HP just with the AA puck combo, even if it's an offlaner. It doesn't really matter.
It also holds them for a long time.
Yep,
with the
yep.
AA ulti.
Oh, actually, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And then magic damage to pair with the AA Ice Vortex, too. So this is actually a really, really nice pick here to combo
He's
with the
putting
puck.
his hand up for a Ricky.
And there's that Fury on ban. Third
Okay.
ban
Yeah,
from TNC, and then the Juggernaut now taken out by Mouz.
They, maybe the Furion was part of that argument there that they were having. And
I wonder, the Mouse play Drow at all?
let me
Oh, yeah.
see.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Modern, I think you might have to go back a bit, but
Yeah,
Modern Power Rangers is the thing.
it's been a while, but I'm sure they can. I think most
The
teams.
old Drowvenge Puck trio.
Yeah, I mean, I would be a little concerned though because Quap can get right on top of the Drow. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
really good against Quap in the sense you have the silence.
Yeah.
And then it's going to give Puck a really easy lane mid if they do end up laning Puck mid.
Crush, Puck can like take control of the
Yeah,
game though.
completely.
Yeah.
And then
Tim's not going to be able to get his Earth Spirit this game either.
no, that is unfortunate. It's fun watching him play that hero.
Yeah, good bans by both sides. Look at the awareness by TNC having done their research. They know that they're going to ban out the maybe next time Earthshaker, which
Yeah.
is the other big hero that they've been using as a roamer.
I'm actually okay with Sven in this draft. When you have Puck or you have a mid laner that offers a lot of control, I think it opens up Sven way more. Like the hero is really strong in this condition.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you actually focus a lot on trying to make Kite to Sven, the Puck is going to have a really easy time
Yeah,
just getting
so-
around the team fight.
And Puck in the mid lane is actually, he does so much damage. They buffed it. His damage used to be like 34 to 40 something base damage. It's now
Like
like
65?
60, yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
it's
it's,
60,
it's,
65.
it is
It's-
stupid.
And you talk about stacking double null talismans
And then you
on
have,
top of that.
you have 80 something damage
Yeah.
at minute 4.
Yeah.
I don't know how to beat this hero.
So Disruptor, I feel like the opening clockwork gives Disruptor so much more value
Yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
of that rocket flare creating vision for the glimpse.
Yeah,
a
and then
nice
also
combo.
the cogs into Disruptor ulti combo is insanely good. You can land hooks on multiple people and cog multiple people and just drop a huge
You
ulti.
do lack kind of instant disable though. Right.
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
you
but
do.
the big problem now from us, so when we've been seeing Ricky drafts lately, a lot of the times second phase Ricky has been severely punished in the lanes. Now, Disruptor, not the greatest laning presence himself, so that might be why Mouz feels that they can get away with this.
Yeah,
But isn't that a bit scary? I mean, this is likely a Ricky AA support duo now for Mouz. Is that the ideal support
It's
duo?
kind of a similar story to the last game, right?
Yeah.
You're leading
Yeah.
the AA with a hero top lane, so TNC can take advantage again. Nyx had so much farm
Yeah.
in the early game. He was level 8, nearly higher level than Tug in the mid lane. So it is definitely an issue, but Mouse, maybe next time, they rely on him. They need him to play heroes
We
like
did
this.
say we needed
I think
a
I'm with you,
big roamer.
Shane.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you that I think Mouz can take Sven here.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
really
Wow, fourth pick Pudge for TNC.
The Butcher.
Okay, Jenkins, go.
Hit us with it, baby. What do we got?
I don't know what they say. I mean, it's a hero.
Great. It's a hero. You've played it a lot.
Yeah.
Jenkins Dota, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I guess you can run at the AA. Can't really do much.
That's it though, really, isn't it?
It's a peculiar pick here. I'm having trouble seeing exactly.
Oh, you know, you can do a cool thing when Ricky ulti is ending. You can time it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah?
kind of neat.
Yeah, actually, there's something.
True.
There's something. This is a really weird mechanic, and it might not be in Source 2, but I'm such a nerd for knowing this. But if you stand to the left of Puck or Riki when they do their phase shift mechanics, it actually cancels blink 100% of the
They
time
used
because it scans from left to right.
It was also
So-
blue player as well.
yeah,
that used to be in the thing.
That's like the final
Oh, yeah, the
prioritization.
temporary,
But
yeah.
if you're on the left of phase shift, or you're on the left of with the rot of the phase shift or the Riki ult, it's like a very high chance that you will actually cancel the blink. Although with Puck, if
he's
Puck blinks,
facing
if
them,
he's facing the direction,
you
then
can't stop it.
Yeah, you can't stop it. But if he's not, you can get the. It's a lot better. So anyway,
Really?
Life Stealer. All right,
Okay.
that's a punch counter.
Yep. Also great with Ricky. Really good in fest bomb
great
carriers.
against Disruptor as
Yeah,
well. Can't
yeah.
get glimpse.
Really-
Can have problems against clock though.
The Infest Bomb Puck AA Blast combo is going to kill anybody on this enemy team from full HP, no matter what time in the game it is, no matter what items they have.
But this is actually like a liquid manila lineup where you have multiple delivery options
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the life stealer.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
Andrew, go
But
ahead. buddy.
isn't Pudge generally fairly good against Lifestealer? You've got
It's-
Hook to move
yeah,
him
it's-
around. You've got
goes either way,
Dismember
right?
that goes right
It's a-
through the rage.
It's a double edged thing.
Feast.
It definitely
fair,
it
too.
definitely is better. Actually, in fact, I think people considered Pudge a counter to the Nakes when Nakes was doing the whole ancienting thing because you could bite the ancients.
Ah.
Now it's a little different because you can use any stun on ancients, so that's not that big of a deal. And obviously, Nakes doesn't do the ancient thing anymore. But yes, you can bite through the rage, which is a big deal. However, Pudge will die every single time if he gets slowed by the Nakes. So it is a
Goes both
double-edged
ways.
sword. Yeah.
Okay, now finally the Darkseer. We've talked
Nice,
about this
nice.
hero so much. We'll finally get to see him here on the main stage.
Darkseer Ricky.
The IQ test in
yeah,
action.
here we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah. This is going to be an interesting bottom lane. For sure.
Okay, so this will free up the top lane heavily. When you have Ricky and Darkseer creating havoc in the off lane, all of a sudden you're not too worried about your safe lane.
Well, I think Ricky's going to be spending a lot of his time mid.
I'm interested to see what their last pick is for TNC because it's their carry, and they second phase to Pudge for some reason. So
Anti-mage, I was going to say.
Oh, AM!
Wow.
Oh,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Might be the
game
first
winning.
AM in the tournament. So why is AM so good here, Jenkins? What do we got?
It's aim against Darkseer, which is of course a very strong lane. The only issue is the Riki Cloud is obviously going to be a big problem for the aim, but aside from that, there's really nothing that stops the aim in this game. As soon as he gets the Mata style, he can get out of the Riki Cloud, he can get out of the puck.
Well, I think the Ricky Cloud is pretty.
You can kind of get out of it, but anyway,
Gets rid of Waning Rift. So
it gets rid of the waning
Okay,
rift too.
Look at just watch the fights again from last game. Mobility. They're on top of the back line. These supports of Mouz are going to die.
So it sounds like your vote is for TNC game
I'm gonna
2.
go TNC.
Shane?
I don't really like the anti-mage.
Really?
I'm going to go with Mouz in this game. They got their Darkseer, they got their Ricky. I think they can do it in this one.
I think Mouse's draft is better.
Yeah.
But,
Same thing.
But I like how TNC has been playing. These guys have been playing pretty much flawlessly. This is an insane draft. I think the fact that it's an insane draft could lead to just a victory based on who the hell knows how to play against Anti-Mage and Pudge right now. Like those are.
At
Some
the same
fun
time,
key
I thought
picks.
the same thing about the last draft, and it was just all execution. That's the problem.
So
All right.
I'm torn. I'm like a 50-50. I guess if I have to pick, I'll say TNC.
Okay, TNC, that's where I'm going as well. Boys and girls, buckle your seatbelts. We could be at our final game tonight. We've got Annie and Basekip again for Game 2 of TNC versus Mouz.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We are back with, like you said, what could be the last game of a very long day for both of these teams, playing a best of 1, a best of 3, and now on Game 2 of our second best of 3. We got a pause in now, our ceremonial pause in this LAN, but it looks like we are hopefully going to resume soon, although we do have some packet loss. So, well, anything goes here. Basekip, what are your takes on the draft, though?
I think it's a really interesting draft. TNC pulling out the Anti-Mage is something that Mouse Sports actually played a little bit earlier today up against Happy Feet. It was a big part of their victory there. So this is actually the second overall Anti-Mage pick of the tournament, I believe. It is very difficult to play against the Ricky, and I think that could prove to be a little bit of a problem for them in this game as we
We do
our
have a
way into
remake.
quick
I
yeah.
believe the admin started the game on the wrong server, which is unfortunate, but just going into an all-pick remake, going to be the same draft, same heroes, and this time there was not anything underway, no wards, no rotations, so it's just going to be a fresh start.
Yeah, hopefully faster to get underway than last time. Looks like everybody is ready for the remake. So
Do you see the lobby? Because I do not.
I do in fact see the lobby.
That is interesting. Oh, there we go.
Because it's an all.
Yeah.
All right. It's interesting. One of the Mouse players has changed their name to Backstage Lower Bracket Champion. So
What region are we on? Because I
we
can't
are
find
on
the lobby.
we are on China. That is a little bit concerning.
I sure hope we can get in.
Is there any way that I can invite you to a party? Let's see if we can.
This is not my account, so.
What's the account name? Do you happen to know? Can you just hover that for me?
Sorry, guys, dealing with the technical difficulties the best that we can. But again,
Yeah.
just to recap, these are going to be the top 4 teams of the tournament, but potentially one of these teams going home after this game. TNC with a 1-game advantage now over.
Whoops. Sorry.
It's okay, Basekip, you take
I
your time.
created a lobby instead of
I
joining
did that
the
too
lobby.
the first time.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird. All right, have I now lost the lobby? Is that no? I'm also filtering by captain's mode. Yeah, there you go. All right, we're good.
All right, so we are hopping in right now. We believe we are, yes.
Yeah, nice.
Just going to create a quick little caster
Easy.
channel. There we go. Perfect. So again, thank you guys for bearing with us. We know there's been a plethora of audio and production issues, but we are trying our best just to keep things rolling. So anyway, back to the draft. We have what Jenkins called the IQ test, the Darkseer, Ricky, and then also the Ricky being a vessel for the Lifestealer. There is so much pressure on this maybe next time Ricky right now.
Yeah, I mean, it is a hero that I think he's pretty comfortable with, so we'll see how he does in terms of the roaming in the early game here. A couple of other thoughts about the draft. Mouz took first pick this game, but I feel like they didn't really utilize it all that well, just picking the Ancient Apparition. I mean, nothing against the hero, but I feel like Mouse Sports might be overrating it just a little bit. It has been a big part of this lower bracket run that they've been able to put together, so it looks like they are favoring it a lot, but I feel like this is another game where TNC have picked the right kind of heroes to get into the backlines and just kill off the AA. I was maybe expecting, I thought TNC might pick a Venomancer as their final pickup, being both extremely good against the Lifestealer and the Puck, but instead they opt for the Anti-Mage here, which is just that little bit better against the Darkseer. I think that's a big reason why they go for the AM, and it'll just be really interesting to see how the Anti-Mage plays this game.
I mean, that's a bold choice to go for our first Anti-Mage of the tournament.
Second Anti-Mage.
Second Anti-Mage.
Yeah.
Panel misled us. But how do you think the Smoke Cloud is going to fizzle him? Because they were talking about how it's all just mobility-based, and Anti-Mage wants to be getting into those initiations and able to get himself out. Is that going to be a problem?
I think the biggest problem that you run into with Ricky is, as Anti-Mage, it's that it's really easy for him to scout you in the jungle, and then especially since they have the Lifestealer, the Ricky can scout him, they can throw an Ice Blast at the camp, they put down the smoke screen, the Lifestealer pops out, throws the open wounds down, and there is basically no way to survive that gank if you're the Anti-Mage. So Mouse Sports, they've got really strong lanes here. I think all three of their heroes very good in the lane. I really like the Lifestealer pickup because I feel it synergizes pretty nicely with the Ancient Apparition. Open wounds is almost enough lockdown to be able to set up for the cold feet, so they've got a strong dual lane going there, but the Lifestealer also just in general doesn't need that much help from his supports, and that makes it so that the Ricky can just go and do whatever he wants on the map, and that's really what Ricky, that's how Ricky needs to feel this game. I mean, MNT in that previous game, we even saw him on the Clockwork spend a little bit of time top because he was thinking to himself, oh, if I get a cog on this Nyx Assassin, we can actually get this kill, but winning the safe lane was not a good use of his time in that previous game, and I feel like for this game, because they have the Lifestealer, he can feel as though he's free to completely go and play with the Puck and completely go and play with the Darkseer and help to win those lanes. So it's made the game plan a little bit more straightforward for MNT overall.
Yeah, Ricky definitely looked to play the way that TNC played it last game, where he's really just a mobile ward, keeping eyes in the jungle at all times, making sure that Anti-Mage doesn't have that freedom, can't stay off the map, and can't stay out of Mouse Sports' vision. So we do have our another game in, so again, if we could hop back into that, that would just
well,
be
it looks like we maybe have some more issues. It's okay. Apparently it's not the server.
It is the venue internet. That's a great message to hear right now.
Yeah, I had it before in the end of the game, a little bit of chat back and forth. Theben is blaming it on Mouse Sports, saying that they never get packet loss, so it must be Mouse bringing that to the main stage. But
according to maybe next time, it is the shitty Greek internet following them around. But
all right, looks like they're going to try. We'll see. Maybe we're going to have another pause pretty quickly, but we do have some early movements out of the players. Sam H going to be TPing over towards the offlane. A little bit unusual to see the, well, not unusual to see the offlane Clockwork, but I feel like we've predominantly been seeing this hero in the 4 position role recently, though TNC kind of used the mix-up in this situation to put the Clockwork in towards the offlane, and while not an amazing matchup necessarily for him here against the Lifestealer and the AA, the fact that he can just use the cogs to manipulate the wave back to his tower should mean that he's okay to get his experience in this game.
I mean, this Pudge is also just a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
How did they use him to his full potential? Because it has been a while since we see Pudge picked up as that support role.
I think Tim's plan here is that he just wants to first blood the Ricky. That's pretty much all he's got in his mind. He's only got 2 tangos, he's bought a Windlaze, he's bought a Dust, and it's actually nigh on impossible for Ricky to escape once Pudge gets on top of you with the Rot. So I feel like that's really what the Pudge is for this game. As the game gets later on, it actually becomes a little bit more difficult for the Pudge, but I guess it's just something that Tim's, as a Ricky player, feels that it's a strong hero against Ricky Maru in those first few minutes of the game, and he feels that he can read his rotations and maybe shut him out, because that's going to be a big problem for Mouz. If maybe next time gets shut out of the early game, they're going to have some trouble.
according to Skylark. Real men can play with packet loss. So there's a little bit of a masculinity challenge going on here in the Shenzhen Stadium. It's getting heated.
Okay, yeah. Cuckoo, I mean, giving some credit to Mouse Sports, saying, puck is pretty difficult to play with packet loss. We'll see how you do. But, yeah, at least good to see that the teams are still in high spirits, because it's been a long day of Dota for them. It's been probably a pretty stressful day of Dota,
I mean, all elimination today. These guys were always in the line. There wasn't a single game where their tournament lives weren't in the balance.
Yeah, and so the fact that they're still able to joke around with one another, have a little bit of fun, and just be some boys playing some dotes. That's
that's the old Mouseport strat. Back when they were ad Finim, these guys were the goofiest, most jovial guys around, and they're definitely carrying that forward. TNC, I was talking to their coach a bunch. I actually watched the first best of 3 with Kips, who's been doing a great job, and picked up some information on the team. I mean, they're just big goofs. Apparently, she wants to adopt Raven as a little brother. I mean, it's just, it sounds like such a fun place to be. So I think that the players are talking about trying, but trying to make sure that the internet is stable is, of course, a big concern here. So potentially the last game of the day. What would this be without more?
Yeah, I mean, we probably still have a little bit of time before we get kicked out of the venue. So
yeah, there is a hard cutoff here in Shenzhen. The police are actually armed and here as the guards. So no stadium staff. It's all armed police. That's very comforting, safety wise.
All right. What are we doing? Nope. Everybody's suggesting servers. We're gonna go C server. We're gonna go Athens server.
I think they're gonna coin flip whether they're playing in Greece or SEA. So
who gets the home field advantage? That's the big question. Wait, are they gonna try? All right, they're asking for an admin at the moment. So if anybody over
unfortunately, the head admins are quite tricky to track down. We had a couple delays trying to wait on them. So we'll see if there's going to be a remake on a different server. If there's going to be playing with packet loss, or potentially just trying to wait out the delays, because I believe it is the venue internet that's having an issue right now, because the server was the same one we played last game on.
We got some scribbles on the minimap.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody's just
it's getting creative here. And again, just to recap what's been going on today, if you guys are just tuning in to our final best of 3, we did start off with 2 simultaneous best of 1s. That was Mouse versus Happy Feet. Happy Feet, unfortunately, were our first team to go home. And then TNC versus Infamous. TNC knocking out our Peru Dota. And then there were 2 simultaneous best of 3s that were also eliminations. So lots of teams going home. Again, our top 4 are now defined in the tournament, but the best of 3s were Mouse versus Vici, which went to a 3-game series. Vici, unfortunately, packing their bags. And then TNC versus IGV, another 3-game series. Do you think this is going to be 3 games, or do you think TNC can close this out 2-0?
I'm not quite sure. I think the panel made a lot of good points about liking the Mouse Sports lineup a little bit more overall, but then feeling as though TNC's execution and their team play has been a little bit more crisp at the moment. So I think it's really tough to say. All of it comes down to that maybe next time Ricky, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we are, all the players have left the lobby, so we either have a remake or we are going to have a brief delay while we sort out the internet issues here. So we're just waiting on cues from production on what we're going to be doing now. But again, TNC versus Mouseports now on game number 2. So TNC 1 game from eliminating Mouseports. And Mouseports looking to take this to 3 games. Yeah, I mean, other thing to point out is that these 2 teams have made it into the top 4 now. And that there's actually only 1 Chinese team remaining in the event. That's Newbie waiting up in the upper bracket. Finals, yeah, I mean, IGV and Vici both falling in our best of 3s earlier today. So, there's been a little bit of discussion about whether or not another Chinese team could maybe make a bid for a TI invite from this event. But looks like it's just going to be Newbie, and a lot of people feeling that they're actually pretty much 100% secured at this point. Yeah. So again, just waiting on confirmation from our admins, from our producers on how we're going to solve this issue. But rest assured, we will be completing this series today. So hopefully things are resolved. So base skip, this is going to be our premier trip to China together. This is my first time in Asia, actually, and definitely first LAN in China. Lots of unexpected surprises. What's stuck out in your memory so far?
I mean, it's been a really interesting contrast between arriving here a few days early and then having to watch as the typhoon rolled in and we had all the flights delayed for the players, and I guess for Jenkins and Brax as well. They were hit pretty hard
Yeah,
by
poor Brax
by
came in,
delays.
like 28 hours after the rest of us?
Yeah, it was certainly not pleasant. All right, I don't see the players online on Steam right now, so
That's comforting.
yeah, I'm hoping that the lobby is. I don't even know if the lobby is up just yet. Looks like we're having some pretty serious network issues, perhaps. But other than that, I mean, the hotel that they put us up in has been very nice. You guys have seen
5
some,
stars, man. It's
yeah.
gorgeous.
You
Those
guys have seen
ad
some
reels
shots,
with
yeah.
all like the lobby shots and the buffet shots, like we're there. That's actually what the hotel looks like. That's where we eat breakfast every day. So, been really, really lovely.
Yeah, it's been good. You know, a little bit of a shout out to Fallout Gaming and all the other production people as well. I feel like as much as there have been issues, they've been doing their best.
Yeah, like
to
all
really
the
rectify a lot of
individuals
them.
have been working 110% to try to make things keep going smoothly. So, you know, whatever is out of our hands, these guys have been trying their best to remedy and remedy quickly. I mean, these delays could have been a lot more severe if everyone weren't working at full capacity. So, big shout out to them. And
Yeah. What's your favorite game been so far this event that you've watched, or any memorable plays that stick out to you?
I got really into the IGV versus TNC match because I was watching it with the TNC coach, Kips.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to hear her take on, you know, what she's thinking the players are thinking, because she's been with those guys as they're scrimming. You know, she talked about strats. When Theban was drafting, she was saying, like, oh, when he sees this, he tends to go for so-and-so picks. So, I mean, just that kind of insight is really rare for casters to actually get their hands on one-on-one with those coaches as their teams are playing. So just that in the moment was fun. And, you know, we're all on the edge of our seats cheering for TNC. A little biased caster here, but, I mean, those guys just seem like the sweetest dudes. And honestly,
All right, we're in the quick
Oh.
lobbies with the channels.
I'm joining. Oh, there we go.
Wait, I don't see it. Oh,
There we go. English channel has been created. We are
All right,
in
we're
a
in,
lobby.
we're in.
So hopefully the delays are sorted out. I believe the server has been changed. So fingers crossed, everyone. We are starting. And hopefully the all pick just rolls in smoothly.
I wonder if it's a similar situation to the SEA server, where there's actually 2 SEA servers and one cluster can be a little bit more stable than the other. I know that for Australian players, at least, if you want to play in SEA, it's kind of a coin flip. Either you get the server that has slightly lower ping, or you get the server that has higher ping and is kind of less stable. So maybe that's what's happening here. We're just kind of coin flipping until we land on a good server. This has happened for Chinese events in the past.
Players have picked up their heroes here, just waiting on the load into the game. And again, hopefully no more packet loss issues with heroes like, you know, Puck, Queen of Pain, those very technically timing-based heroes. Very difficult to play with packet loss.
Yeah, I mean, even the Pudge, talk about Disruptor
Gotta
as
get
well.
that going in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely need to get that split-second timing down for those heroes. So yeah, we're going to get ourselves in,
We are
and the
loading
players will
in.
let us know if they're happy with the network conditions in just a second's time.
Yeah, I mean, of all the teams for this to happen to, I feel like TNC and Mouseports are the ones that can, you know, they can make it fun, they can play it off, and it's probably not going to tilt them in terms of overall performance. But again, these teams have both had very long days. This is going to be their 6th game played. Did I math that correct? 5th, 6th.
Wait, so for Mouse Sports, their best of 3 went to 3 games.
Both went to 3 games.
So this is their 6th game.
Oh, I
yes.
mathed correctly.
Yeah, and TNC 2-0.
All right,
So
let's hop back in. It looks like players are in. We've got movements up in the mid lane as Mouseports are going to be going in. The good luck, have funs are called, so both teams ready to get on with this. Again, TNC 1 game up in this best of 3. So Mouseports, they have to take this game. They have to force it to a game 3 in order to continue on in the Galaxy Battles LAN.
yeah, but no pressure, MNT. You know, just
No pressure. It's only like your 2 heroes' entire way in to get kills. The Darkseer Ricky and the Darkseer as a vessel for Lifestealer.
Yeah, he's definitely a very big part of this game. A couple of other little synergies that I feel like we haven't really talked about here is that the Darkseer is amazing with Puck. I think something else to talk about is being able to vacuum people out of the Dream Coil and then use that to guarantee the break and get the additional stun, especially on heroes like the Queen of Pain and the Anti-Mage, where a lot of the time they're going to get hit by the Dream Coil, but then immediately just tank the stun by blinking away. Being able to break that and then have them stunned in place is actually pretty sick for Mousesports.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, Mouseports in general, they've got some fantastic teamfight synergies, but a lot of it does depend on Madara being able to do the right-click damage and, you know, really put the team on his back with that actual kill power. So how quickly does the Lifestealer want to rotate and start looking for those kills?
Well, at the moment, it looks like he wants to pressure the Anti-Mage Anti-Mage right from the word go. They feel like this Anti-Mage pick is a pretty greedy setup, especially with the fact that the Disruptor is actually the support from TNC. It's a very, very weak dual lane, and looks like Mousesport's actually choosing to go aggressive. Raven forced to skill up the Blink, and he's actually going to be making a trek all the way over towards the top
Courier.
side.
Mid lane, it looks like maybe the Riki might find it, but he's going to hop up here. Courier hanging out behind that tier 2 tower, definitely something on the forefront of his mind. I mean, that would just totally cripple the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, that would be extremely difficult to deal with. Thug dragging the creep wave into a pretty nice position for him here, so should be able to get the deny on this range creep. It looks like he will get that, so nice start to this lane. This is a matchup that can kind of go either way. Kuku actually skilling up the Blink early on here and just blinking back an auto attack. I don't know if he skilled that because he felt under pressure in going for the rune, or he just skilled it to try and get a better block, but well, Raven's world tour continues as he runs from bottom, blinking all the way to top, grabs a TP, and now he's back on the bottom lane. We'll see if the Riki continues to chase him.
Oh, top lane, Spartan potentially in some trouble, gets banged back by the Cog, hooked in by the Pudge, and taken down to about 25% HP, but is able to salve, and TP's back down bottom, so Spartan also playing some musical lanes.
And I mean, Skylark's TPing.
These guys are playing mind games with TNC right now. Is this something they intended to do, or is it really just because their lanes are not set up the way they want? Thug.
The problem is that every single time they swap, TNC actually get a little bit of a window. Oh, Kuku might...
Oh!
Alright, this mid lane, not been a whole lot of CSing going on. It's 3-2 against 3-1. It looks like they've both just been wailing on each other.
They want blood. And this is interesting because I was talking to the TNC coach, and they said Kuku really thrives when his lane is totally secured. When there's a support there babysitting him. When Kuku cannot get off to a good start, rarely does he fumble into the mid game. But this is a pretty tricky lane for him. He's solo, and he's not going to be getting a whole lot of help. Disruptor wants to stay bottom, and Pudge really wants to go into the enemy jungle. So it's really up to the Queen of Pain to solo up against this puck, and potential rotations in from the Riki as well. Lots of pressure on Kuku to handle it by himself this time.
Yeah, interesting decision from Kuku to go for the pack of tangos as opposed to buying the salve, which is a little bit more typical. Actually, wait, Skylark in some trouble. The battery assault, he's staying inside of the creep wave to try and dodge the damage.
Yeah, he's sprinting back, and that Surge will secure himself back into the tower, but the hook back in! Another Cogs traps him forward. Madara has to sit back and watch as his unfortunate little Darkseer is gobbled up. First blood going the way of TNC. It took 3 heroes and a bunch of tries, but that is definitely a good way to start securing this lane, especially for the AM there to split the experience.
All right, tally went up for Tims and Sam H, and I feel like we're still yet to really see maybe next time accomplish what he's hoping to get done.
All right, give him some time. It's
game.
2 minutes into the game. Bro.
Yeah. We'll just keep score a little bit here in terms of how
I believe in the Riki, man. Maybe next time rarely lets me down with his roamers. Bounty Hunter and the Riki, once he gets an Invis Boy, he is all vision.
Yeah, that's for sure. And okay, so this pack of tango thing for Kuku mid seems to have worked out okay in the end. He's managed to get his health back up, starting to even up the CS a little bit against Thug, but Thug is doing phenomenally well. 15-5 against the 8-5 of the Queen of Pain, so good matchup there.
Could be in some trouble again. He got away the first time, but it's not looking like this time he'll be so lucky. Trapped in the Cogs, and the battery assault is just going to chew him down the rot there to just augment the damage. And that's something we've seen before, the Clockwork combination against the AA. AA is just so fragile. He's stuck in the Cogs, and that battery assault, even level 1, can finish him off well into the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, interesting build from Spartan here, opting for 2 points in the Chilling Touch, so maybe feeling like they don't have reliable enough setup for the Cold Feet this game. It is obviously really good damage for the Riki and the Lifestealer, but I still don't quite understand why Mousesports are prioritizing this Ancient Apparition as highly as they are. They could have taken the Nature's Prophet with their first pick, but opted not to. They wanted this Ancient Apparition instead, so I feel like Spartan's really going to have to make a case for it with his plays in this game.
Raven down bottom. Some harass coming out of that Ion Shell. Darkseer doing a good job keeping on top of him. So, I mean, Raven's CS isn't perfect, but he's not going to feel a whole lot of pressure. And again, we'll easily be able to dip into the jungle and make up for what he's missing there. And just going to be on the job of Riki to keep on top of him and keep vision on where the AM is farming. And like you mentioned, once the AA picks up his 6, that's really when we're going to see a start to see a good impact of him combined with the Riki. And now Raven potentially in some trouble. They're going forward. Smoke Cloud onto the Disruptor. They're doing a bunch of damage. Glimpse back, but Riki able to finish the job. Maybe next time secures his first kill on 14:37. Baseskip, eat your words about that Riki right now. He's coming online.
Oh, I mean, Pudge tallied one up as well at the same time. He went and ganked mid. Looks like
arguably a more important kill as the puck goes down and Queen of Pain has some safety farming, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said Cuckoo likes to have his lane secured, and Tim's is doing just that. It's on a slightly, you know, a little bit more unconventional of a hero, but it seems like he's really got the moves on the Pudge. He's already got his Tranquil Boots up, and now going to be making his way down towards bottom.
Sam H giving a tough time to the Lifestealer, but Madara just going to be farming up pretty nicely. He's our last hit leader here at 27, and like you mentioned, these mid laners have spent way too much time slapping each other to go in, and it looks like Queen of Pain will go down. First Dream Coil burned down as Puck wants to show off that 6. Queen of Pain just has no chance to react. She can't blink it. She can't sit there and tank the damage, and unfortunately no one there to bail her out. So.
Yeah, where's your Pudge now? Thug really making a statement here on the mid lane, putting the hurt onto Cuckoo on one of his signature
but
heroes.
they're still going to follow up. They want to go into Skylark here. Few resources to trap him down. He is just able to walk away as Disruptor does not follow up with that kinetic field.
The Mouse Sports as well, not only finding a couple of kills here and there, but also finding really good farm across all 3 of their cores, all 3 cores with better
Skylark,
CS.
he wants to get aggressive here onto Tim's. That's a bold play as the Pudge is big and mean, and they've got the Anti-Mage there as well. Skylark going to get Thunderstruck. Oh, 1 hit short of taking out the Pudge. And now he's potentially in danger, but does still have that surge to hold on to. And there's no more rotations down from any Radiant heroes, so he's just going to walk back and continue farming. Cuckoo going to go ahead and bottle up a regen rune. Very handy to have in lane against a Puck.
You can tell that Tim's is a Ricky player because he dropped low there and he immediately thought, all right, I'm just going to sit here and wait for my Tranquil Boots to heal me up because if I run away from this tier 1 tower, I'm going to die to the Ricky rotation.
Oh, gets this dust off on the Ricky, but immediate blink strike out. Now Raven wants to go forward. There will be a glimpse back in. They're holding tight onto this Ricky, who's now just surged up, sprinting away, but the hook brings him back in. He is under a sentry, and there's no chance. Unfortunately, maybe next time, not going to be alive here in the bottom lane. Brief pause as these mid laners are once again duking it out. I mean, these guys, this Puck and the Queen of Pain, they have spent more time poking at each other than they have poking at the wave.
Oh, all right, something about offlaner and G. So Cuckoo doing a little bit better on the mid lane, a little bit better on CS. I mean, it's only 6 denies ahead of Thug. They're dead even. And he's actually got himself a regen rune here. In terms of the net worth, it is the Puck leading the way right now by about 300 gold. So still very close on the mid, and so much action happening bottom that the supports really have not been able to get involved, though it looks like Ricky going to come TPing in here for a bottle refill. So Cuckoo gets the regen, Thug gets the bottle refill, and things remain close.
There they go, Dream Coil spent out again. Nice smoke cloud, there's a hook back. Pudge drags his Quap across the river. The Dream Coil breaks, but there's no follow-up. They just can't close that gap that quickly yet. So.
It's like Tim's is reading Maybe Next Time's goddamn mind. Every single time that Maybe Next Time is making a rotation and trying to make something happen, the Pudge is right there to stop him.
Now Thug potentially in trouble. The Courier goes down. That's an ult spent out, but Thug going to be a little bit sour about that. Meanwhile, Sam H trying to crawl his way back under his tower. They're going to use the open wounds and try to hold him in place. Sam H in a whole ton of trouble here, trying to hookshot his way to freedom, and does make it to the wave, dispelling the cold feet along the way. Oh, nice plays there from the Clockwork, but it does mean hookshot's down for the next couple of seconds.
Yeah. So no potential initiation. This might be some kind of a window for Mouz that they look to use. You know, if they go on bottom lane, they know that the Clockwork can't come in and counter-initiate. He has to go all the way back to the fountain at this stage. Another hook from Tim.
My goodness, is this Dendy right here? These hooks are on point consistently. Skylark, I mean, he's just got no mana, had no chance at surging out of that, so very well played. And Starks here is having a really tough time dominating his lane. We say that as mid gets a solo kill. So Cuckoo, I mean, even with very little protection from his Pudge, really able to go through and make that Puck's life pretty difficult. Now Queen of Pain and Anti-Mage taking over the top of the net worth chart. And I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Lifestealer right now. Clearly the Puck can't make things happen on his own, needs the Lifestealer to come online, so there's sufficient damage on mouse ports.
I don't know if it's better rune luck or if it's better rune control, but Cuckoo has absolutely been winning this mid lane because of the runes that he's been grabbing. That regen earlier to heal him back up to full, the double damage now to secure that kill. Thug played the matchup so nicely when it was just a clean 1v1, but these external factors are really making it difficult. Nice infest from Madara.
Yeah, just buying himself some time. And now the AA coming forward, trying to go for the body blocks on Sam H, but that battery assault sure is obnoxious. Madara with not enough mana to follow up. Meanwhile, mid lane, Pudge sprays out a dust, anticipating the Ricky hanging around, but maybe next time, already making that journey to top lane. And they could punish Sam H here. This Clockwork is playing low and playing up, not anticipating the Ricky on his tail.
Sam H is such an amazing space creator on his off-lane role. I feel like he's not necessarily unique in the heroes that he's playing, but you look at a team like Newbie and they're prioritizing these big AoE 5-man team fights for KP.
Look at his positioning right
yeah.
now.
He's dragging heroes towards him right now. I mean, MNT's going to scout it out, but the Lifestealer's got no mana, and as a result, he won't be able to do anything. This is Sam H wasting 4 heroes' time, potentially, and the puck even starts rotating over, but sees that the Clockwork has both a drum and Tranquil Boots already. He's tanky and he's fast, and Thug just feels like there's no way for him to catch up, so just going to go back to CSing over at the mid lane.
Yeah, with all that motion going on in the top lane, bottom has felt completely free for Anti-Mage now, who's sitting at 2nd on the net worth chart already. I mean, no real pressure on this guy. He's already level 8. So, I mean, he's having a fun time as Puck gets hooked. Is going to immediately orb out. Now Madara going forward onto Tim's. Do they have enough damage to drag him down? They sure do. Queen of Pain going to blink herself up onto the high ground on the Radiant side of the jungle, and she'll get out to freedom, but that will cost Puck his life.
Yeah, but let's not forget there's a Raven Anti-Mage in this game. A guy renowned for his farming prowess is on a hero that farms better than almost nothing. So, yeah, I mean, look at this. Sam H is just doing whatever he wants. Space for Raven. He's got good farm. Cuckoo's got good farm. I feel like TNC, you know, really running circles around Mouz in this early game.
I mean, wow, the Clockwork's positioning is ridiculous. There's no Radiant wards in this jungle. He's just relying on gut feel, knowing that he forced Mousepores back enough that they can initiate on him.
Yeah, this is tough. Mouz going to try and go for this tier 1 tower, maybe turn it into a little bit of a trade.
They do see Pudge, and that's a nice little pick if they can find it. He's really the only one hanging out down there.
Yeah, I mean, Tim's just kind of keeping an eye on things here, seeing if anybody wants to try and TP to interrupt their push over at top, and pretty impactful tier 1 towers for both sides to take. Anti-Mage to make some space for him to start farming up over in the Dire jungle, and the exact same story for the Darkseer, so that he can start farming up the Radiant jungle and work towards that mech this game.
Wow,
I wonder if he gets the mech, actually. Yeah, they've got some amazing vision over in this Radiant jungle, but that's not where the Anti-Mage is playing anymore.
Maybe next time. Now infested up. There is going to be a Dream Coil to hold the Queen of Pain in place, but again, these immediate blink out of the Dream Coil, and there's just no way to follow up. There's no gap close just yet.
Yeah, I mean, Cuckoo misses 3 CS. Well, doesn't even miss any of the CS playing defensively there. Never mind.
No, Queen of Pain will not miss CS.
Yeah, no, Cuckoo blinking in and gets all 3 of them. But nice defensive positioning. Knew that it's an obvious rotation from Mouz to take the bottom tier 1 and then try and make something happen.
Infest out. The Disruptor's going to be the one to give his life, but it will be a free blink out from Anti-Mage. They weren't able to close that gap far enough and trap AM in the smoke cloud. So support pick. It's a consolation prize, but you think about how much time that Lifestealer spent infested in the Riki. That's time that he wasn't farming and just kind of sitting idly by. He's still working on his armlet.
Yeah, it's not like he's got the Midas or anything like that. Often when you have this kind of a game where the Lifestealer is going to be spending a lot of time inside the Infest Bomb target, you do kind of get the Midas to play catch up and maybe keep your levels relevant as the game goes on. It's still something that people go for after the armlet, so that could be something that we look at here, but I feel like for Mouz, they just do not really have the tools to deal with the TNC cores once it gets into the later stages of the game, so they really have to just try and keep the tempo up and keep finding these tier 1s.
Raven goes in immediately. The Dream Coil off the mark as the blink is instantaneous, but the cold feet is going to be enough to hold him down. He blinks at the split second. Oh my goodness, Raven makes his way out into the trees. There's mass pings coming forward, but he's just going to be getting himself to freedom. Now up in the top lane, Madara, he's farming. He cannot afford to go down. Oh, this is just such a poor trade. 2 ult stump down on him, and it's looking unlikely that he gets out alive. Cuckoo finishes him off, and this is looking grim for Mouseports here. 7-4 is the kill score. The AM is completely unchecked. The Quap already on a roll, scoring kills. Her net worth spiraling up, and this Lifestealer, he's not really able to go and farm safely because he's rotated on and killed. He's not really able to infest into the Riki because there's no obvious targets except for position 5s. It's tough.
Yeah, the Lifestealer is really being very effectively dealt with this game. They picked it because, you know, they were looking at it as being quite good against the Disruptor and the Pudge, but I think Tim's and 1437 showing there that these 2 heroes can actually do a lot against the Lifestealer as well. If you get the Static Storm before he gets the Rage off, it can be very, very difficult for him to play. You can hook him around. You know, they didn't even have to use the Dismember for that kill. So it feels as though this counter isn't really working out quite the way that Mousesports were expecting, and TNC are just kind of next leveling them and dodging every single one of these infest ganks, which is really supposed to be the strength of the Lifestealer in this game.
There is going to be a big smoke kick onto Raven, and now is a super crucial time to kill him where he's so close to his Battle Fury. Smoke pops, they know he's around, they know he's on the low ground. Tim's is going to be making some space trying to bodyguard him up, but Anti-Mage looks like he's biting the dust here. Bunches of ult spent on him, and now they're just going to try to wrap around and find the Pudge. They do get a little bit of scouting vision on him. Tim's is just going to be fighting for his life. There are going to be some defensive TPs in. They're trying to go forward. 1437 walks in, but is going to get trapped in the smoke cloud. Unfortunate there. The Disruptor just played a little bit too greedy. Go Clockwork, hook shots in and finds 2. Great turnaround from Sam H, making some space, and Thug is trapped in the wave. Going to be able to jaunt to his illusory orb and try to get out, but another TP coming forward. Thug definitely on the run here. In enemy territory, Madara goes forward, wanting to munch on the quad. She blinks forward, she's silenced up, she can't blink away. Cuckoo, trapped in the cogs, gets killed off by the Infest splat. And Madara feeling real good about that. Sam H now fresh out of mana, running into the trees. Sam H soon to fall.
Yeah. Raven chasing after Thug at the same time. Did he just buy his blink from the side shop and then blink it away? It looks like he might have.
Oh, Madara able to TP out, just raging out of there. So not going to be able to find the kill onto the Clockwork, not wanting to risk any more reinitiation, but still that co-op going down was huge, and that's after Disruptor TP'd in and immediately died.
Yeah, and I mean, the Queen of Pain has gone for a little bit of a different build this game, feeling forced to build into the Force Staff just to play against the Riki. But very aggressive play from Kuki. He wanted to punish the Puck for not having his orb up and available to be able to escape, but goes right into the waiting arms of the Lifestealer, and unfortunately for Sam H, couldn't quite get the cog positioning to get the Lifestealer outside and save the Queen of Pain.
That was a pretty big turning point. I mean, kill score almost evened out, and now Puck is top of the net worth chart, able to snap up an Arcane Rune as well. Now, all ults but Infest are ready for Mouseports, and they are probably going to get pretty active soon. They've got to push this advantage now and get, you know, that mid-game starting to roll in their favor. Otherwise, this anti-mage is probably just going to roll, and there's the smoke gank, signaling it's time to move.
Yeah, and Madara already has his entire game plan put together in his quick buy. He's going to go for the Desolator. They're going to try and get some extra towers. It's going to probably secure them a Roshan as well, and that they can keep this 5-man sort of siege moving forward as they continue to use the Ion Shell and the Ice Blast to spam out the waves and really prevent this TNC split push from doing what it wants to do.
So Vision might be a problem here. They're going to go, they get her in the Dream Coil, and they silence her up immediately so she can't blink out. There's a 4-step forward. She is able to blink deep. The Illusory Orb scouts her out, and they find the kill. Oh my god, that was some gosh darn nice geometry from that Puck, knowing exactly where she went to and able to follow up with pretty much the only tool they had to catch her there.
Yeah, Thug had the perfect line. He saw the direction that Cuckoo was facing after he got that 4-staff away and went for the blink, and a very straightforward kill. Looks like we're going to go for yet another Pudge Disruptor smoke gank, so looking for that Static Storm, Hook, Bite. Can pretty much kill any hero over on the Mouseport spot, but they might not be accounting for the Puck being just around the corner.
Yep, Thug going to be the first one to show here. Thug blinking forward, and now this is a really nice time to strike. Thug going to be locked down here, and I think Skylark is running for the hills, leaving Puck to his own devices. So unfortunate that it comes to this. The anti-mage does not take the kill. It does go the way of the Clockwork. So AM, I mean, starting to struggle a little bit. I mean, he's still doing pretty well, but it seems like he was off to an unstoppable snowball just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, even with that, without getting that kill, he does still have his Battle Fury at a pretty reasonable time, so this is where the game really starts for Raven. And I feel like if you're TNC here, you're thinking they've only taken one of our towers so far. So they still have tons of time for the Queen of Pain and the Anti-Mage to pick up the items that they really need, and I feel like the pace is still not quite fast enough for Mousesports. I don't think they're necessarily happy, though they did get that very nice turnaround that you talked about just before.
What kind of timer are Mouseports on? Because clearly TNC, they're going to just enjoy taking this later and later and later, but I mean, when do Mouseports really need to start taking high ground?
I mean, they can still play into the late game a little bit, but I think it's really around the it's really around the Desolator from the Lifestealer. That's the kind of a timing. Madara's actually kind of shifted gears a little bit here and has queued up the S and Y, so maybe a change of plans from him. Sort of just a more value item, but I feel like that's going to put them on an even shorter timeline if he's just kind of buying these mid-game value items. Maybe he goes for the S and Y into a Basher just to give them a little bit more of a chance to lock down these very evasive heroes in the Anti-Mage and the Queen of Pain.
Speaking of Queen of Pain, she has pushed up really far here. Riki going to go and try to make a solo go of it. MNT running back, and Cuckoo just continues farming. Seems like Madara's not too concerned with that, not really going to fully invest himself. Instead, just keeping himself working towards his own goals. And this is Getting down to it, 19 minutes in, everyone ready to go. Do you think there's going to be a lot of importance placed on Roche here, or is it just kind of not a lineup that can take it quickly and or benefits from the air?
Neither team is particularly great at taking Roche, and both teams are amazing at scouting the Roshan. So I feel like the only situation in which these two teams end up taking Roche is if they completely wipe the other team, and then maybe you have the Vlads on the Anti-Mage or the Desolator on the Lifestealer, which might give them the opportunity. Maybe a Solar Crest in there somewhere as well, but I don't think either team is even working towards a medallion right now, so I don't really think Roshan is on the table.
So Thug trying to go maybe get a nice blink in.
Big
This is a
wraparound.
3-man Dream Coil if they can find it. 4-man Dream Coil, hold that thought. Pudge able to walk himself out of it. Disruptor is still stunned, but now gets a chance to go Static Storm on himself. Very defensive play as Tim's is left to his own devices in the river, trying to chunk down the Lifestealer, but Madara makes quick work of him. That's a 3-shot. And now they're chasing down this Clockwork Illusory Orb to gain some ground on him. Sam H just running for the hills, going for the self-cogs to buy himself some time and will be able to TP home. So very aggressive play from Mouseport's deep smoke into enemy territory will pay off. They force out some ults, and they will get 2 kills out of it.
And Kuku, knowing the limits of his hero very nicely, manages to drag the creep wave away from mid lane.
Oh, there we go. Kuku just hasted back, sprinting forward. They do want to defend this tier 1 tower. In fact, they want to go. Spartan able to dump a quick ult. They get the silence as well. This hasted Quap, I mean, her days are limited. The haste running out, and she's got to get back. She's getting very, very low as Sam H is going to be walking up the mid lane, trying to continue this fight, but shrining up. Mouseports are going to reset. I mean, they're not that limited here. They don't have the Dream Coil. They don't have the wall. They can still continue to press forward, and they want this tier 1 tower. They're not going to back until it goes down.
That play from Kuku was insane to hold this tier 1, even for that additional 30 seconds, though. He is playing games with Mousesports, and he knows that every second that he buys is a second that Raven can hit creeps and get to that point where the Anti-Mage is completely unstoppable.
Yeah, Queen of Pain actually going for a lot of split push here. Kuku going to be TPing out, but Dream Coil to stop it. It just comes off cooldown. Now Thug just going to be raking in one more. Oh, doesn't have the vision for it, but there's the Ice Blast. Kuku will go down, will shatter. Very
Nice.
well played from Spartan there. He's got to just be patting himself on the back for that one.
Maybe next time, looking like he might be in some trouble, gets hit as the cogs come through.
Yeah, he's in trouble there. That's the remaining 4 heroes taking him down, so some space created, I guess. But
Yeah,
it's just
I mean,
gonna
it cost
be-
him 3 sentry wards to get that kill.
That's value right there. His death bounty was only 200 gold, and it cost him, what, like 300 to actually pick him off?
Yeah, but maybe a little bit of space. Puck has gone back for the Midas. Lifestealer not going to be making the same decision. Of course, the Puck doesn't really need that many more items. He's already got his Blink Dagger and his Veil, so I think the Midas securing his way towards that level 25, getting the 420 GPM, and really being able to play the late game, which might end up still coming to fruition this game just based on the overall pacing. You know, Mousesports only managing to take 2 tier 1 towers in 22 minutes of gameplay.
Raven starting to really accelerate on the net worth. I mean, is this where Anti-Mage needs to be, or does his team need to start spiraling kills and taking more map control?
I think Anti-Mage is in a fine position, honestly, right now. Almost has his Manta style up, which is definitely going to be helpful against the Puck silence at the very least. And the map is starting to open up a little bit for him to split push, though. I mean, pretty low tower game for TNC as well, with only the single tier 1 tower taken up over on the top side of the map.
Yeah, Kuku on this Queen of Pain having a tougher time than last game. Obviously, her team isn't grouping up in 5-manning at this point, but it goes back to that laning stage. Do you think this is because she wasn't babysat and protected like she usually is?
I think it's also, in part, that it's not Kuku's job to win them the
What?
game here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just buying time. I think Kuku has an excellent read on this game in terms of, okay, we're falling behind a little bit. The team fights are getting scary because Mouz have a mech, they have the Puck with a lot of items, and at this point they are just kind of relying on playing the full split push game. Looks like 147 going to get jumped here and easily taken out.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what happens when there's a Lifestealer on you with the Ricky Cloud. You can't react, and you're just paper. Unfortunately, not an impactful kill. And now,
Not hugely, no.
mid lane, Kuku wants to go back in for this tower. The Invis Puck, hot on her heels. They go in, they get that silence, but there's a hook shot in. Back wall, though. Immediate reaction from Skylark is going to be great. Thug able to get himself out of safety, and well, that's just going to be maybe next time going in. They want to be able to get the Sam H, but they just don't have the damage in time. No more stuns for them. That'll be TPs out, but TNC busting some resources, and Mouseport's still pretty gearing up to go. They've got Raven pushing in mid lane, and it seems like that's what they want to do. They're going to be wrapping around 2 heroes taking care of him while Kuku is in some serious trouble. Madara going to be killing him off. Tims was trying to go for the hook to save his ally, but just Queen of Pain didn't live long enough. This Quap is really starting to lose her grip on the game at only 24 minutes in.
Yeah, Mouse Sports have been making some really excellent team plays to be able to kill off this co-op. The AM does get the last hit on the Tier 1 tower mid and does have almost 13k net worth under his belt at this stage, but Mouz really continuing to press this advantage. They know that the Sonic Wave is on cooldown for a little bit longer, so their heroes have almost no risk of dying in this upcoming fight. The Mono Void is going to be coming back up soon, and Anti-Mage is going to be grabbing his level 18, so the time where Anti-Mage will be done farming and be ready to participate with his team isn't too far off.
Here we
but
go,
it's not
smoke
soon
defense.
either.
Disruptor, oh my gosh, he's instantly killed. They will drag Skylark forward, but he's able to surge himself to safety. So they're not going to be able to get anything off of that, even hooking them onto high ground. They can't follow up, so Mouse Sports feeling dominant right now, forcing TNC into fighting in an uncomfortable position. They're not at the advantage. Raven jumps in, but that's going to be crazy there. Dream Coil going to be manted off, and he's going to be silenced. Force staff forward as Puck, or rather Pudge hooks Madara in, but that's just going to cost Pudge's life. Easy kill for that Lifestealer as they chase down the Clockwork as well. There will be the Sonic Wave popped up by the co-op. The burst damage is huge. Maybe next time in some trouble. We'll get denied. Lifestealer not letting a single drop of net worth go to waste there. They are not going to give TNC any advantage in that fight. Very well done.
Yeah, and I mean, Mouse Sports, we felt like they got a little bit out-executed in the first game, but it seems like they've woken up a little bit here in the second.
I mean, this
of
is
course,
their tournament life.
Yeah, they are playing their hearts out at the moment. TNC, you know, not really preparing all that adequately for these fights in some ways. Not really able to land a lot of their abilities since the Disruptor is having to play so far back. Otherwise, he just gets jumped by the Ricky in every single fight, and the Pudge kind of starting to run into the same problem that the TNC backline can just get completely demolished by Mouse Sports when they initiate in. I think the Anti-Mage still has a chance to make something happen, but the gap that he has in front of the Lifestealer is actually starting to dwindle here and there. So getting tough without the extra space on the map. He really needs to probably get rid of this Tier 1 tower down bottom so that he has an extra side lane to push. Since pushing the side lanes is so much more valuable than pushing the mid lane. The mid lane is extremely short, and you hit an enemy tower that much more quickly, whereas while you're pushing the side lanes, you can go 2 or 3 waves before running into a building and actually putting yourself in harm's way. And it's actually that much more difficult as well for Mouse Sports to push out the side lanes, because they have to do the exact same thing in the opposite direction, killing multiple creep waves just to get the lanes into a good position.
I have to say that the AA has felt a lot more impactful in this game than basically all other games we've seen in the tournament so far.
Yeah, I feel like Spartan has made a pretty good case for the hero so far. His Ice Blasts have been really on point. Even that point-blank Ice Blast on the Queen of Pain on mid, and I think there's something to be said for comfort for players. It looks like Spartan, he just kind of feels like this is his hero really for the patch at the moment, and he's really locking in cruise control when he's playing this hero. Even in the previous game when he was dying a lot, still landing good ults, and I think still it gives him an opportunity to really lead his team from behind, which the direction seems to be really working out well for Mouse Sports.
Disruptor drawing in maybe next time, does walk himself under a sentry ward, but I mean, there's just no follow-up. Raven thinking about going in to Spartan, but can't even take on that AA. In fact, they're going to Dream Coil him. Raven in some trouble, tries to go manted up against Silence. Oh, he's struggling. He goes for the blink, but Thug going to kill him off with the Dream Coil damage. And now Sam H goes for the hook shot out. They're going to keep the chase going as, I mean, Mouse Sports, they're getting everything they need to out of this mid-game. Maybe next time, really thriving on that Ricky now, getting that vision, going for those chases. And this is Mouse Sports' game to lose, at least in the mid-game for now. The AM still in a phenomenal position, but it's all about fighting with his team and turning that into 1 fights and 1 objectives.
Yeah, and Anti-Mage now deciding that the Manta style is not enough. I mean, he went for the Manta dodge on the silence there, but didn't quite get it and was brought down in the end. He is going to just queue up a BKB at this point, which is going to help him a lot. And fortunately, they do have Cuckoo as well in this game to be able to go and push out the top lane, so that losing the Anti-Mage is not such a big deal in terms of their lane position. Is still able to keep them occupied and force Mouse Sports over towards the top side of the map. But I mean, Mouse continue to win these fights, and you know the puck is going to continue to scale from this point forward. Going to be going for the Lincolns, very natural choice against the Queen of Pain and the Anti-Mage in this game. You know, if Anti-Mage can't drop the Abyssal Blade on you a little bit later on, then it's going to be very, very difficult for him to kill the puck. So I love the
Ice
decision
blast.
from
The
Thug
follow-up from Madara is going to be there. Sam H just chilling as Puck pops those boots of travel. Sam H goes in for the cogs, tries to go for the YOLO hook shot onto creeps, but it's not going to be enough.
He missed.
Force taps himself out. There is going to be that drums keeping him nice and speedy, but they've got the follow-up. The Dream Coil expended just to make sure that clock goes down, and that's a dominating streak out for Thug.
No, nice silence up top, and looks like maybe next time is going to end up dropping
Top,
here.
top. Oh, no.
Yeah. Orchid burn just enough to find that kill, and Cuckoo. TNC always reacts so well to any little bit of space that their team makes, and it just lets them keep dragging this game out. We're passing the 30-minute mark now. You know, Mouse Sports are actually kind of being herded back onto their side of the map in the last little bit, and they spot Madara top. They're keen to try for this kill, but it might be tough with the Heaven's Halberd already up in his inventory.
They've got Skylark there for the vac wall if necessary, and that's going to be a nice vac wall. Watch it 3, the AA blast to follow up. Tim's caught by it. Now Madara able to quickly fight, quickly get the kill on the Pudge. Skylark going to surge himself forward, trying to keep eyes on both the AM and the Co-op, but that's pretty difficult as both have a blink, and they've kind of used their lockdown tools already.
Yeah, so they choose to put the cores together for one of the first times this game. TNC unfortunately doesn't quite result in the kill that they were hoping for, but looks like they still managed to make it back to the lanes quickly enough to get everything shoved out, and Anti-Mage getting pretty close to his BKB here, so his game going to improve pretty significantly once he picks that up. Queen of Pain's working her way towards a Shiva's at the moment, so I guess feeling as though the Lifestealer is really the big problem in these fights, at least in terms of dealing damage to her, and Cuckoo probably wanting to save his BKB pickup until a little bit later on.
Yeah, I mean,
Clockwork's dead.
Unfortunately, so yeah, we got to catch those kills down there in the bottom jungle. TP's to the
Gets
shrine
crazy.
though. Radiant, they want to go and defend this. Maybe next time, hiding out in the wings as Skylark moves forward as well. Raven just going to be silenced up, blinks down to the low ground, giving some chase to AA. But that's really just kind of wasting his time. He's going to go back and farm a bit, but now Sports, I mean, now they're doing a good job getting back aggressive, getting back on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and they're getting their items, maybe next time not too far away from his Diffusal Blade, so once he gets that, he is going to be the absolute scourge of these TNC supports. Disruptor and Pudge really going to have nothing to say about that until they get those Force Staffs up, and even then, could still be very vulnerable. MNT going to micro the illusion across here so that he can blink down onto the low ground, makes
Very
his
nice.
escape.
Very nice.
Nice little play.
And smoke up, Infest into Thug here. Maybe not something they're expecting when that puck rolls forward. He's going to bring a surprise forward. 1437 will be TPing out, but they're going to push this. They're going to take it to the tier 2. The lane's going in their way. And, oh no, down bottom. There they go. That's going to be a nice Boots of Travel TP in, and Thug unstoppable as they use the Lifestealer to the best of their advantage. I mean, this is just such a good Lifestealer game. It's definitely fallen out of favor, but I think Mouseports, they drafted so nicely here.
And Thug is just bringing him to wherever he needs to be. I was talking about the Lincoln's decision a little bit earlier, but I feel like this Boots of Travel is 100% the right decision when you're playing against these two TNC cores. You know that they want to be split pushing, you know that they want to be pushing at the side lanes, and the Boots of Travel gives you the opportunity to play separately from your team and still keep these lanes pushed out and be ready to join them if required, because TNC have shown that they're willing to jump on any moment of weakness, so Thug has to always be ready to join his team, even if he's playing on the other side of the map. And Mouz going for the Roche here.
Yeah, I mean, a TNC play would be to initiate with the co-op dead, because that's just kind of what they do. They go in as 4 versus 5, but I just think right now they're lacking the damage to do so. And take a look at the vision that Dire have right now. Deep wards in the bot lane, scouting any split push coming from the AM or the co-op. Oh.
Roshan's low,
Looks
but
like
it's
they're
not
trying
dead
to
yet.
go in. Yeah, Roche is still alive. A hook out of the pit for the pipe. There will be a 3-man back wall. 2 heroes dropping already. The Co-op buys back. Has to get herself in this fight. Spartan fighting for his life. Will go down to Sam H. And Raven able to go and take out the Roche and get the Aegis. All right. That's a neat little turnaround, but it does cost them their Pudge and the Disruptor and a buyback from the Co-op.
Yeah, they got the big combo onto the supports for the most part, but just couldn't quite finish off the Roshan. They got driven away.
Yeah, there's
you know,
that replay of the initiation.
Yeah, Lifestealer got hooked out of the pit. Sick hook from Tim's there.
Absolutely great focus. Nice back wall to follow up. Meanwhile, there is a little scrap here as Spartan's chased down, so Spartan can't help but his teammates. And Cuckoo coming forward with a nice Sonic Wave is just enough. Raven making the right choice to hop into the pit and go for the Roche rather than to try to pick off the survivors. Because now Mouseports, they really can't do much. They have to wait for TNC's next move before they can get active again.
That hurts Mousesports' timeline pretty significantly, losing that Aegis. I think it's a pretty important ingredient for them in taking the high ground this game. But the other thing is that the Queen of Pain did, of course, have to buy back. So Cuckoo now not going to be quite so able to keep up this aggressive split push. It does, of course, make it easier for the Anti-Mage now that he has the Aegis secured for himself and is now working his way in towards the Abyssal Blade. But I think Mouz can still try and make some inroads over towards the Radiant side of the map. And I feel like sitting back and farming is going to be perhaps a bit of a mistake for them. But they are getting close to their 2 Lincoln Spheres right now. I think that's what I'm not 100% sure what the Darkseer is actually going for here. Looks like maybe he could... He's actually going for a Hex. He's got the entire Mystic Staff over on the Courier. I don't know where Skylark's been finding all of this farm.
I like that choice, and we
yeah.
are going to have an initiation as the Dire. They want to get active. They want to defend this tier 2. MNT with that infest is going to be walking around. They get vision on the Clockwork, who's going to cogs himself for safety, not going to jaunt to the orb. The Puck biding his time, want to take the smartest initiation possible. They see AM go in, the hook shot forward onto our little Darkseer here. AA Blast going to be off the mark, doesn't clip the Clockwork, but now chase forward, and Fusel committed onto this little disruptor there. Silence up as Darkseer. Oh my, okay. Ricky gonna save his life, going into that ult. Madara still full health, wanting to go forward. They will be able to go and get a kill onto Sam H. 3 heroes dead on TNC. It's just the 2 cores alive. TP comes out. Quap gonna be TPing back as well. So Mouseport's very successful hold on that upper jungle. They do lose the tier 2 tower eventually, but certainly worthwhile to take out 3. There's the replay of the initiation. So again, AA Blast a little bit off the mark, but they lock down the Clockwork. Ricky chasing down the Disruptor into the Static Storm. And now up in the top lane, Madara just goes to work, starts eating people alive.
And you look at I think you look at Skylark this fight, and I think he played such an amazing team fight. He juked the anti-mage non-stop, went high ground to low ground, got the blink off. He was getting the Clockwork up in his face the entire time as well, but still managed to get off a decent vacuum wall, and then got the fog, TP'd out. Raven spent that entire fight trying to chase Skylark down to get the big Mana Void, and did not get it just because of amazing movement from Skylark.
He was just totally kited that fight, and AM is now such a huge portion of TNC's damage, especially with Quap having already expended her ult. They needed the AM to be there just chopping at people, but he couldn't find the way to do that. He was just too far from the action.
Yeah, it's not often that you say Anti-Mage is getting kited, but Mousesport's really thinking about the fact that he's the big source of damage over on the TNC side and really just scattering. I think a big problem for TNC in that fight was lack of vision as well. You know, it was daytime, but plenty of high ground areas for Mousesports to juke around. And
double damage rune spawning to the Roche Pit. Going to be something fun for TNC to scout out, and they do ping it, so it will be theirs.
Anti-Mage just about 200 gold away from finishing up his Abyssal Blade, so huge power spike for him, and it looks like that's really what TNC are playing for right now. This Anti-Mage hitting his, not necessarily his peak, but one of his absolute strongest timings, having the BKB, the Abyssal Blade, and the Manta Style.
I mean, who's AM's ideal Abyssal target? Does he want to go in the Puck to disable the spell usage, or the Lifestealer just to hold him in place for a split second?
The Puck is difficult because of the Lincoln Sphere. I think it's definitely the Darkseer in this situation. If he can stop him from getting the Hex off, he not only helps save himself, but he's also going to help save the Queen of Pain later on into this fight. So Skylark can have to be very well positioned with his Blink Dagger this game, but he does have the 100 cast range talent to help him out a little bit. So the sum of his Blink plus his Scythe of Ice is such that he can stay really far back.
There's the initiation. Anti-Mage going to be force-staffed, and they're trying to force Mouseports to go up this hill, because that would be a super favorable fight for TNC. But Mouseports, they're not going to fall for the bait. Instead, they just chase AM off. They defend the tier 2 tower. There still will be a fight, because this is definitely the forefront of TNC's mind, is to go secure this tier 2 and start making up for that net worth disparity. And now with the backdoor protection down, Raven is able to take the tower, and they want to force a fight here. Madara going to get hooked in, trapped in the Static Storm. Ice Blast off the mark, but Disruptor going to be vaporized. Meanwhile, there's going to be a big Dream Coil.
The Aegis is going to get reclaimed soon.
Aegis is almost up. The Anti-Mage now locked down, but Raven still very much alive. The Puck having to run for his life here. Should be able to go and blink himself up, but the Lincoln Sphere is popped. Nice use of the Illusion Orb to get himself back to the high ground. Meanwhile, there will be a TP out, and it seems very difficult to stop it, but the damage, so close. Madara just needed one more right click.
And after all is said and done, it was just the Disruptor that was taken out of that fight, it looks like. A little bit of extra money for the Darkseer. Jumping again.
They're not done. No way. That's going to be Madara able to go and try to turn this around. Skylark still there. Ion Shells rolling. And there's just going to be Cuckoo juking around, keeping his distance. Maybe next time, getting in close. But the Radiant Vision here is good. They've got the Obs. They've got the Sentry. So no sneaky Rickies crossing the river.
The item build from Madara has been so on point this game. He went for the SNY. I wasn't 100% sure about the decision, but the reason that he went for it was this play, to be able to disassemble it into the Heaven's Halberd, into the Manta Style. He saw that the Queen of Pain was going for Orchid. It's a pretty common pickup on that hero anyway, and this Manta and the Halberd have made it so that even with an Abyssal Blade and an Orchid dropped on him, they can't actually kill the Lifestealer. So
turning one high-value item into 2 very high-value items.
Yeah, it was just a nice little stepping stone for him on the way to picking up these 2 big items. And he's also not too far away from his AC here, so building damage going to get boosted up just that little bit more as a result of grabbing that. And Puck, not too far away from his 25, so expecting that secondary Hex from Mouz to be coming out very soon, and that's where this game could actually get pretty difficult for the anti-mage, since there's no sign of a Lotus Orb just yet, I believe, over on the TNC side.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Mouseports needing to get really active in the mid-game, which they've done. They took a couple of phenomenal fights, but I mean, is their window closing? It seems like the AM is still doing fantastically in terms of net worth. TNC, they are still finding pickoffs. They are still getting objectives. They've taken out all the tier 2s now, while there's still tier 2s on the Radiant side of the map. I mean, are Mouseports kind of losing their grasp on this, or is it still very much in the air?
I mean, TNC are split pushing so effectively. They've picked up the gem as well on the Clockwork, so they've been able to de-ward Mouz pretty significantly and force them back onto their side of the map. So the split push continues to ramp up, but Scythe of Vice really is the king of the late game as far as items go. So I feel like they still have some opportunities here to win the fight. Though the fact that the tier 2 tower still stands on mid and still stands on top has to be a cause for concern for them. As this split push continues to open up the map, it's going to make it easier and easier for TNC to secure yet another Roshan, and I feel like that's the point where it's going to be super difficult for Mousesports to take a fight if they have an Aegis and a Cheese on the TNC side, because I just don't think they have quite enough damage to be able to, to kill Anti-Mage twice, for example.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of tower push, we saw the Lifestealer with the Desolator queued up, like, right at the start of the game, but I mean, hasn't gone back for it. Instead, we talked about his choice to itemize into the S and Y, then disassemble it and build items out of its components. But do you think the Desolator is still necessary? Because Mouseports, they still got a long way to go before high ground's available to them.
I think he's fine with just the AC. Desolator's probably too small of an item to be thinking about at this stage of the game, and it looks like he is just going to be going for an MKB instead, anticipating that there will probably be probably be a butterfly coming out of the anti-mage at some point. And there's already a Heaven's Halberd on the Clockwork, so there's already some value to be had by picking up that MKB. But yeah, I think just to close up that thought, yeah, the Desolator is just too small of an item for this stage of the game.
So is Mousesports' big tower push going to come from just wiping TNC and taking that window and running with it?
Yeah, pretty much. An anti-mage illusion is going to be extremely valuable for them as they move forward into this game as well. Darkseer definitely going to be looking for that in every single fight that he possibly can, since all of the other heroes on TNC don't really right-click very effectively. So AM is far and away the best hero to use that wall on. And if they actually manage to get that anti-mage illusion, especially once he's got the butterfly, I feel like maybe they do have enough damage just using that anti-mage illusion in concert with the 2 hexes and all of the other lockdown that they have.
Oh, there's the initiation. Raven blinks right into their trap, but the BKB and the Manta will buy him some time. He stops to farm. The confidence on this guy, he is just all about the CS.
Yeah, he hasn't chosen his level 25 talent just yet. I wonder if he's actually just looking at this as a, sometimes players hold their skill point to see what they, how they need to use it. I guess maybe that's the case with this anti-mage here as well. Okay, never mind. He's not holding on to it. Just gets the 50 seconds Mono Void. Makes a ton of sense against the Puck and the Darkseer. There's 2 good heroes to target this game, so I was expecting that the Mono Void cooldown was going to come out.
What's the total cooldown now with the minus 50 seconds?
20 seconds.
That is a very small cooldown.
Yeah, it's enough to get it twice in the fight. They're going to drop the silence on the Lifestealer here.
He doesn't particularly mind.
No, he's a tanky boy. He's just fine.
So Madara just going to sit back, sponge that one up for the team, and another tier 2 does fall. So it's only the top lane preventing them from just diving tier 3s now.
All right, this Roshan is the key, but like we've been talking about, both teams, great Roshan scouting, pretty good initiation. It's very difficult for either team to make it in here, so I don't know if either team's really going to be able to saunter in and take it unless TNC gets some amazing split pushing going, or Mousesports or TNC manage to find a really successful pickoff. So we're back to playing the lane control game for at least the next couple of minutes.
I mean, the Co-op and the AM both just pretty content going, cutting some waves, pushing some lanes, and getting back to their teams, so we'll see. Game plateauing a little bit. Definitely not that super volatile 10 to 20 minute mark that we saw. Net worth is sliding in favor of Mousesports, but like we said, they've got to keep that gas pedal pushed so TNC can't just sit back and 6-slot themselves.
Yeah, I guess the one thing to talk about as well is that once you get, there does come a time in the game where Anti-Mage begins to fall off. He's a hero that carries by being ahead of the enemy carries in terms of items. So once he caps out, the Lifestealer can start catching back up. And actually be able to man-fight him very effectively in the late game. And actually, big smoke gang coming in here.
Yep, they're able to pop the Lincolns immediately. Look at that. That's just a 4-on-1 with AA bringing up the rear. Oh, no.
He's up for 100 seconds. He just bought the Lincoln Sphere. He doesn't have a buyback available.
Queen of Pain just completely dropped, and that is absolutely a big Roche opening and potentially turning that into high ground push as well. TNC, I mean, they're the kind of team that will fight with their co-op down, but they can't afford to lose this.
No, I really don't know if they can afford to try and make some kind of a play here.
No, they gotta let the Aegis go. It's just second Roche, but it does allow for the rest of TNC to go and split push. You see AM now crossing the river, gonna try his luck at pushing in, or at least cutting the wave to the bottom tier 2. But
And
still.
such smart positioning from MNT here. Instead of going to join his team over by the pit, he's actually scouting the potential smoke locations. I feel like Mouz, after that previous game,
Yes, it has.
they gave so much respect to TNC with their ability to fight 4v5, and maybe next time is thinking one step ahead. He's added it to the checklist, I think, as Jenkins would say, and now he's prepared for that eventuality if TNC had tried to go for that gank.
Oh, 1437. Maybe next time is just preparing himself. There's the defusal charge. Glimmer Cape comes in, and Ricky a little bit caught off guard by that, just trying to wait out the duration of the Glimmer. Hopping down a Sentry and an Obs, so at least making himself valuable. Commits the Static Storm, so that's 2 Static Storms in a row that haven't been doing a whole lot for the team. And Madara just going to go to work on this tier 3 tower after zoning back Raven. A 4-staff comes forward, but Madara's Ion shelled up. He's content with this. The Abyssal Blade dropped. Oh, man, they are able to burst down the AA, but Raven's BKB is going to be wearing out. The hook back in from Thug, but Thug just silences up the Pudge. Now maybe next time blinks forward. In the smoke cloud you go. Tims has to be forced back as now Sam H is going to go ahead and pop that Dream Coil tether. Everyone going forward as there's a vacuum forward. Everyone, Siege Creep dragged back. Hook off the mark, and now Sonic Wave spent out. Doesn't do a whole lot. Skylark taking some damage. Hook forward. Sam H is able to round up the Darkseer. Madara trapped in the cogs. He's in some trouble. Thug needs to stand by, needs to help his teammates, but Raven chasing him down. Drops the Abyssal on the puck, but they are able to go get himself back. Johnson Illusion Orban will be able to get back safely. Aegis popped. Puck has to reinitiate here as the Lifestealer is going to come back up. Is he going to be able to get out safely? Madara zoned out pretty quickly, but yeah, there's the Abyssal dropped on him. He's in some trouble. He's sitting back and taking it. Hops into a Siege Creep and just moving out the lane. Thug now the target of Raven's aggression. Raven can't be too far forward here. Cuckoo is waiting on the high ground, potentially to blink down to the low ground. And wait for that Siege Creep to go hatch out a Lifestealer. They know what creep he's in. They're going to keep chasing the wave until it's low enough to deny.
The movement in these team fights, both Game 1 and Game 2 from TNC, has been absolutely ridiculous. The kiting of the Sven in the first game, the kiting of the Lifestealer in this game, they've really just made, made Mouse Sports look a little bit silly in some of these fights.
Look at that huge creep wave down mid.
Yeah.
That's a wad.
It's four range creeps, 2 siege creeps. Thug pretty happy to escort this over to the enemy base, but TNC probably going to be backing up to defend that before too long. The anti-mage BKB is starting to wear down a little bit now, so that's going to be troublesome for him, but TNC, I mean, an amazingly successful hold against the Aegis and the Cheese. Nice Cheese play from Skylark in that last fight, avoiding the Orchid burn damage, finishing him off. But unfortunately, the Aegis on the Lifestealer just turning out to be not all that valuable, with TNC able to push the rest of the team away with the Cogs and the Blinking Heroes just chasing them to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, so 47 minutes in now. I mean, both Mouse and TNC, on average, have pretty short game times. It's usually because they just pick push lineups and fight lineups and go, go, go. But pitted against each other, they've got to play safe. They've got to play smart. Yeah. Again, if Mouse drop this game, they are done with the Galaxy Battles LAN.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for when you're this late in the day and you've played this many games and it's an elimination match, that picking ease of execution is a big thing. And not that this isn't necessarily an easy lineup for TNC to execute, but it looks like they're pretty comfortable with this situation right now. And
they don't need to get crazy. They don't need to try bold moves. It's no longer best of ones.
Yeah, so I think picking themselves into a situation where they maybe feel more confident about the late game is a really nice way to put the onus on Mouse Sports to make plays, and then they can just be a little bit more calm and a little bit more collected with how they approach the game, which is, a lot of what they're doing with Raven here on his carry role. Such an amazing farmer. You know that he's going to stay ahead, so why not utilize that as a part of the strategy for your lineup?
So Tim's going for the YOLO hook. They briefly saw MNT go into that Sentry Ward, but no, Tim's is just all about getting that little Centaur Conqueror down, and well, maybe next time slapping at him as they go. Just a little bit late with the Dream Coil there. Unfortunately, Thug has to burn that cooldown and won't even find the support Pudge for it.
Yeah, I don't know if he could have orbed forward to get there a little bit faster, but just barely missing out on that Pudge kill. I feel like we haven't seen Tims at all for the last sort of 30 minutes of this game. He had an amazing early game shutting down MNT.
Dude, threading the needle with those hooks, man. That was crazy.
but this is where he comes back into effect. The high ground defense of Pudge cannot be underestimated. And actually, they're going to set up for a kill here on...
Oh, immediate static storm drop down. This might just be enough. The Abyssal to combo him down. He's fresh out of mana. He's fresh out of life. Madara just barely alive, but no. 100 seconds down with no buyback. This is a huge window for TNC to push. They know so much of the right-click damage is concentrated on that Lifestealer, and he can't get himself back into this fight. Tier 3's soon to be vulnerable. Raven just sitting back, waiting for that creep wave to go forward. Now, Thug just going to dagging him to the belly. There will be a vacuum forward. He's hexed up in the Ice Blast. He is going to be very, very hard pressed to get out of here. Lots of Lotus Orbs on him. Glimmer Cape to keep him safe as he will be able to retreat, reset, heal up. And Mouseports, you can feel them scrambling. You can feel this game slipping away from them. They've got to play this next defense cleanly or it might just be over. Oh, going forward there. Raven goes in, drops another Abyssal, immediately blasts down the AA, who's got no buyback as well. MNT on the run, silenced up, and he's going to be popped as well. There's only 2 heroes left alive, and no buybacks. Darkseer runs back to the well. Sam H doing what he can, trapped in the Dream Coil, just making space, occupying the puck, while Raven goes to work on the Tier 3 towers. Cuckoo just going to be blinking around, continuing to
This is a lane?
This is absolutely a lane, and it depends how fast Mouseports can collect themselves because TNC don't have to back off. There's really nothing for them to do. The Roshan just going to be sitting back, not even up yet. So now all they can do is push, keep the lanes going to their advantage. And
oh, Lifestealer buying that Monkey King bar, not having the buyback in reserve, and no Aegis anymore. And looks like TNC are actually going to be able to clean up 2 full lanes here.
I mean, there's still 15 full seconds till Lifestealer comes back, and he can't really get a good initiation until the Ricky's there for him. So TNC, they're not going to get greedy. I like this choice not to try to close it out now. They can't take the 3rd set of racks because they still have that Tier 2 standing, but how's the D push of Mouse? Because they are now at a significant map disadvantage.
It's really bad. It's really bad this game compared to what it was in the previous. So the fact that they're... I mean, this is almost to the point where I'm willing to say that it's GG because they're down 2 lanes of racks against an anti-mage. I don't know how they ever get back off of their side of the map, which means I don't know how they ever contest Roshan. And I really feel like TNC have really just ran away with this game with a single smoke play. And I feel like one of the biggest things that TNC have done...
Look at that network turnaround.
Both in this game and the previous game is that they have called Madara's bluff so many times.
Yes.
He's keeps playing as it and pretending that his team is behind him, and TNC are willing to test that every single time.
Just immediate initiation with that static storm.
All right, they're going on the anti-mage.
This is huge. They got to kill the anti-mage here. He's hexed up. Snap back from the Dream Coil. Vacuum in. It's huge. They catch 2 in that static storm. Sam H trying to run himself to freedom. Cuckoo on the high ground. Drops the Sonic Wave. Madara still angry. Still going forward. They got to be careful. The buybacks are few and far between. Queen of Pain just right-clicking his heart out. Madara still continuing to get back in. There's a buyback from the Clockwork. They've got to keep him alive. The hex forward onto Cuckoo, but Cuckoo's still alive. Meanwhile, Madara fighting for his life in the low ground, chased by 3, trying to juke and jive, hops into a creep wave, buys himself some time while Spartan is focused down with that mana void. It's the flimsy AA left to go fight off Sam H. It's not looking good for him. Finished off by Cuckoo, and a hook back in holds Raven in place. So right now the fight has stalled out. They're waiting for Thug. There is going to be that one creep holding Lifestealer. Madara comes back out of the infest. He's abyssal. He's held down. He tries to feast on Sam H, but the bash comes in. Madara in serious trouble. Oh no, it's looking like that's it. 100 seconds down without a Lifestealer, Ricky, or the AA.
Oh, they went for one last Hail Mary play. They saw how badly the Lifestealer was being kited around. They got the 2 hexes down so nicely in that fight, but TNC with their supports and the 4-staff plays and the Lotus Orb able to evacuate the anti-mage at the absolute last moment. And
they forced a buyback.
Yeah.
But Tier 4 is under attack. Raven wasting no time. They don't even care about this Tier 2. They don't care about this last set of racks. Skylark is back up, goes for the Hex onto the AM, but Quap blinking aggressively, catching that back line, making sure that maybe next time is not in a safe place. That 4-staff back in. Thug just going to pop the Lincolns with the Dagon, but it's all down to this. Now, of course, they don't want to GG out until the last possible moment. A wall comes forward, but Raven, look at him. He's fearless going on to Skylark, blasting him apart, popping the bubble. Hook comes forward, but Puck just left to crawl into the well. Spartan can't even make it out down the stairs. The final Tier 4 goes down. The Ancient is exposed, and it's just going to be Mouseports playing from the steps of their well. One last Ice Blast to try to get him, but the hook comes in. They lock down AA. It seems like TNC have done it. Oh, they're going to get the Puck as well. Well, that's about all they got. They buy back with who's ever got it, but it's just going to be the Puck and the Darkseer. They're playing with their food at this point. And the GG comes out. Mouseports have been eliminated from the Galaxy battles, and TNC now claims at least 3rd in this tournament.
A hell of a lower bracket run from TNC. They have You know, we started with 4 teams in the lower bracket here at the beginning of the day, and it's TNC that will emerge victorious. I think it was actually 6 teams in the lower bracket to begin with, and it's actually TNC who will emerge as top dog. Absolutely ridiculous run from them. I think some amazing kiting and some amazing execution, showing that they really know how to deal with these melee cores that a lot of teams are actually picking pretty heavily. So, and the versatility in the drafts. We saw them pick the Riki, we saw them pick the anti-mage, even mixing up things a little bit with the clockwork. I feel like TNC are really on a tear right now.
Absolutely. I mean, they have hit their stride. They're going for it. They found a play style that works for them. And like you mentioned, in that game, they didn't have to get too crazy. They didn't have to go too wild. They just sat back, picked what was comfortable, picked themselves a really good opportunity to just excel into the late game. So congratulations. And we just want to say it. Mouz Sports, they did a good job. They knocked out Infamous. They knocked out IGV, or rather, no, they knocked out Happy Feet and Vici. So definitely
They came back from last in their group, 0-3 in the group stage, and still put on a fantastic performance. So I feel like, people were talking about this team as being a little bit shaky. I think there's still some drafting things that they really need to sort out, and I would guess that the panel is probably going to talk about maybe next time a little bit as well as we wrap this up. But still, strong individual play, still showing that synergy that they've built up from being the same 5 players for such a long time, and I feel like we can actually expect a lot more from them as we move towards TI.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for watching this cast. I'm Android, that's Space Kip, and we're going to kick it back over to Zyori and the rest of the panel for some more breakdown.
All right, thank you very much, Annie and Base Kip. That concludes our games for tonight, and TNC move forward to the lower bracket finals. A lot to talk about that game, but Jenkins, we talked about those crazy smokes, either when someone's dead, they were showing the Quap up top in that 4-man smoke, pick off on the Lifestealer, all in on the MKB. What a way to end that game.
Yeah, they tend to smoke when it's really dangerous to smoke because they know the enemy team is thinking it's really dangerous to smoke. So it's worked out for them in this tournament extremely, extremely well. So just showcasing exactly how it functions really successfully. And unfortunately for Madara, he had bought out the MKB.
Yeah, that was a pretty big mistake.
And presumably, I mean, I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit. Speaking a little bit from experience, I do know, maybe not me, but I know there are players who are very good at noticing, hey, I play Lifestealer. He purchased this specific...
Yeah, he's had this 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. He had this 10 minutes ago. Therefore, he probably bought out. We can push. And that's probably why they went so hard on that push when Lifestealer died. With that being said, I think Zero was mentioning it while we were watching. It's also possible that they literally just said, let's force his buyback. Hey, this guy doesn't have buyback. And that kind of turned the game around right there.
I think item choices of TNC were massive. Going for 4 staffs, even on a core mid lane Quap, which is extremely unusual. But against the Lifestealer and the Riki, it just did
and the dreaded Darkseer Hex, too.
Yeah. So much damage.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the MKB might have been at least partially out of frustration. I mean, I feel like Madara is going to go back to his hotel room and have nightmares where he just walks back and forth aimlessly.
Yeah.
He got kited so much in that series, and the MKB I think was like a last-ditch effort with the AM already having the butterfly to say, I've got to stick on somebody and be able to kill him. But I thought the call from Shin with the 4 stabs, it was just a microcosm of what TNC was doing in this series. Yeah. We know that they're going to get Madara big and fat. We know that they're going to try and 5-man and fight around him. We're just going to deny that with the superior mobility.
I mean, how many times did we see those 4 stabs save AM?
It was ridiculous. He was Lotus Orbed. He was jittering around the team fight. It was so hard to even track where he was.
Yeah, and he was like so dead in a lot of those situations that he's just out 20% HP.
The AA ulti was on top of him, and it was very close, like 3 or 4 times. But he was just bouncing around like a ping pong ball.
Yep. And they needed it. The double hex that they had on the other side was crazy. There was one on the Darkseer, and I think one on the Puck as well.
Yep. And then
I think we have an interview. Let's see if we can switch over to the interview.
到 TNC 是再次获得到比赛胜利，同时也非常荣幸邀请到的是酷酷接受的赛后采访。酷酷先跟所有的观众朋友们来打个招呼。哇，好高冷的小哥哥。好，那现在还是有些问题想要问到酷酷。酷酷的话，我们看到在今天对阵到这支队伍的时候，他的第一场的女王的发挥非常非常的抢眼。想要问一下酷酷有没有特别准备过这样的一个英雄，包括这场比赛对自己的队友的评价是什么样的呢？
especially prepare the campaign for this first game? And what do you think about your other teammates? How do you think they did?
They helped me so much, especially teams. We fought hard Lina, and then I snowballed so hard, so the game is so easy for me. The game is so easy for me for that time. Okay.
他说那一场游戏对于他来说是非常简单，用女王来打。
好，那同时我们看到今天的话，这个由于之前小组赛的失利，TNC 是落到了败者组当中，但是今天是过关斩将，连拿3盘，最终拿下比赛。想要问一下，他对现在拿下3场比赛的心情是什么样的呢
You guys were in the losers bracket, and now you won 3 games in a row. And how do you feel about that?
First of all, we are so sad because we just lost because of the time. So we play on lower bracket, and we are so tired like that. Not so much. We need to do more. We need to do more. We need to continue what are we doing until finals.
他们在败者组的时候，其实还是非常那个难过的。然后我刚才问他们现在有没有很开心，他说也没有。现在还是要多注意自己做的现在的一些事情。
是我们看到了 TNC 的话，在整场比赛当中，面对到每支队伍，有的比赛打的是非常有压制性，而有的比赛的话，则完美的展示了自己的运营。好，那这样的话，还有最后一个问题，就是明天的这个上半场比赛将会是由胜者组的第1场比赛，由来自中国的战队 Newbie 对阵到这个原雷鸟战队。我想问一下，他更加看好哪支队伍，或者说更加希望哪支队伍能够面对到他们？
Tomorrow is going to be the first game of the winners bracket, and it's going to be Planet Odd and Newbie. So which team do you think it's going to win, or which team do you want to face, like in the future games?
I think Newbie will win for that game. Then we're gonna face Planet Odds.
他们觉得 Newbie 会赢，然后他们应该会面对的是 Planet Odd。
好，我们看到确实，对于牛逼的期望，各位选手和我们一样都非常的大。再次感谢到这边酷酷接受我的采访，现在我们的台下稍事休息。
Okay. Welcome back to the panel. Another great interview. Interesting to hear from TNC once again. Of course, we heard from Theben earlier. Their second win in the lower bracket today. Quite the run TNC has made through that lower bracket.
It's been a long day for them, definitely.
Yeah, it sure has.
Like to be able to show that level of skill at the end of a day like this.
And it was a long yesterday for them.
That's
as well.
true too. Yeah.
2 really brutal days.
It's fair play.
I think that's, again, we talk about this as the 3 core players that finished top 8 last year at TI. They have this kind of LAN experience. They have experienced these kinds of long days before.
So we'll take a look at the bracket here very quickly. You can kind of relive the run that we saw today. We saw